Hello, everyone. I'm Gemma Starr, and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. Heart Warriors is a series I've been guided and inspired to do thanks to my energetic connection with Kata Judah. Kata Judah is our beautiful sacred masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru, our sacred feminine site. So what I'm here to do is to give a platform to men and hear all about their journey into the heart, their highs, their lows, tools, practices, insights, wisdom, what got them from being at their rock bottom to being the men they are today as heart warriors. Today's guest is a man living in Bali, and his name is Andrew Mioch. Now, Andrew is a best-selling author and he's also a sex coach. And he told me that his mission with the Sexual Quantum Leap mission is to elevate the sexual well-being of humanity so men can have a proper sexual education and mind-blowing intimate experiences with women they care about. By opening their hearts and connecting deeply with themselves, as a result, becoming powerful masculine leaders inside and outside the bedroom. So I'm sure we're going to have a mind-blowing, juicy conversation here with Andrew. So thank you for joining me. Hello, Andrew Mioch. How are you today? Welcome to Heart Warriors.
I am fantastic. It's so good to be here, and I've seen a few of your episodes, so I can't wait to dive right in.
Oh, awesome. This is going to be a good one. So if you've seen other episodes, you know I like to get to know a little bit about you, but without your label. So without best-selling author, sex coach, son, partner, whatever else we like to label ourselves as. Who's the man inside?
It's a great question because we do get confused sometimes with this is my label, and I'm the first one to put my hand up and say I put myself out and do those things. But behind all that, I just feel like I'm a man sharing a message. And one of my most influential mentors was a guy called Dr. John Demartini. And it's like following your telos, like that end in mind, that your highest value. And for me, I just feel like I'm on this mission of sharing what's true to me at that time. And maybe I might be a sex coach and all these things, but realistically, when I peel back all those layers, it's like that deep impact that I want to have on humanity. And I'm just a guy from Melbourne back in the day, a long time ago, Hoppers Crossing, a little suburban town, and I was meant to be a carpenter. Actually, I was a carpenter for many years, and I just knew that wasn't for me. And I always felt like I had a message to share. I love learning and teaching, and behind all that, it's just like I sometimes get put in this box of like sometimes a little bit like intense, and I am. I talk a lot about like three aspects of being a man, like the soft, the silly, and the savage. Sometimes my savagery comes out to play a lot more, but behind it, my mum likes to call me this, and the Australian audience will understand this, a caramello koala. Andrew, you pretend you're hard on the outside, you have this hard exterior sometimes, but really you're all gooey on the inside. So that's probably the best way to start this off.
Yeah, I love that. Mum knows best, right?
They always do. Like sometimes, like all these years later, I'm like, Mum, I love you. You really deeply know me. And how did I not see that for so many years? But Mum, if you're listening, I love you dearly.
Oh, that's so sweet. Awesome. All right, so let's find out now how you got to be the man you are today, the heart warrior you are today, because I'm sure that it wasn't always an easy path, right? So, what would you say was your major challenge you had to overcome in childhood?
Ooh. I think the hardest thing for me when I was growing up is when my parents actually got divorced. I never forget, I'm like, oh, my dad's coming home early. My dad was an entrepreneur, businessman, and he would work all hours of the all hours, such a long time. And I never get like he's like, Dad's coming home early today. We get to put together the model plane. I'm like, I'm so excited about that. And then I had like half a day off school. So I'm like, all right, cool. Dad's coming home early. Mom's gonna be home. The family's gonna be together. This is great. Because my dad was like working so hard all the time. And then when he got home, they sat us down on the couch and they told us like, hey, we're going to break up. and we're not going to be together anymore. It absolutely crushed me. I never forget, I was crying in the bathroom, and I believe when they broke up, I think I was about 11 years old. And that age, it's kind of like I'm not too young to not really know what's going on. As much as like, okay, cool. The subconscious when you're younger, that could be a discussion for another day. But it's like 11 years old was this confusing age where I'm like, is it me? So then I took a lot of this personally as well. And I was like, oh, this is tough. This is super tough being in this position. And then also growing up in a bit more of a rougher suburbs as well. Like I was like, Hoppers Crossing is one of the roughest suburbs in Melbourne. Like the train station, I was like we're hanging out with gangs, drug dealing. Like there's this, I don't know where you want to take this, but there's nothing off limits. And getting caught up in motorcycles, like there's so many depths. I can break it down. I'd rather just answer your specific questions, but probably the hardest part was like seeing my parents break up, and then also going to a Christian school where I felt like a little bit of an outcast. I'm like, this is not me. Like as much as my grandparents are Christian, I'm not. I I'm not a Christian, but at the same time, being around that where it felt like there was more favoritism in school, where I'm like, I feel like a little bit of the outsider, and I felt like I had something to prove consistently. And I don't know, I think my entrepreneurial journey started as a lot in school, just when I was like, I remember selling like these balloons to kids, and it was super like, I just want to like do something and prove something to my dad. It felt like, hey dad, I got all these balloons and stuff like that. And I'd fill them up with flour and sell them to kids for 50 cents. And then to also to just selling cans of Coke out of my locker, even though you're not asking this question. So it just like came up. I'm like, I want to share this, and just putting myself through adversity at a young age. I'm like, in creating those challenges, I'm like, all right, if I want something done, it's going to be through my own hard work. And just, I think it came from lack as well, of like wanting to prove to my dad, like, hey, dad, mom, I can do things myself. Look at me. So it's a lot of like being, and my book being Best You Ever Had. And we can talk about that in the future, about like how I tried so hard when I was younger to be the best, to be number one. And that didn't really serve me that well. Cool. How many times do I want people to say I'm amazing or the best? But that's coming from such ego and such lack, which there's so many angles we can take this, but I want to shut up for a second and you can ask anything you need to.
This is great. And, obviously, I like to sort of hone in on one or two experiences and get you
Yeah,
to then offer advice for anyone who's going through that situation at the moment. So, the first one I'd like to is your parents' divorce. Now,
yeah.
11, as you said, you're old enough to understand. And am I correct in saying you somehow took it internally and thought that it could be your fault?
100%. I was like, how did I create this? Maybe how can I get them back together? What could I possibly do? And I was bawling. Like there's that crying, but then there's like that crying where it's like where you're completely broken. I'll never forget that I was in the bathroom just crying and crying. I'm like, how will I get through this? And then I'm like, I took it so personally. I'm like, and and then it's like, oh, okay, we still love each other. And then just the chaos kind of ensued from there in my own, like my parents being throughout my life, like, talking about adversity. There was one time in my life I didn't talk to my dad for about 5 years. I didn't talk to my mum for about 3 or 4 years. My stepdad didn't talk to my brother for about a year. So pretty much most of my family I haven't had conversations with, and then I rebuilt those relationships where they're healthy, and that was tough, absolutely gut wrenching not having those relationships. And I'm like, how can I make this happen? How can I have a healthy relationship? I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to have healthy connections and what's the difference between codependence and interdependence and etc. like that. I'm like, now it's time to really develop more and have these conversations. And that's what I love having conversations about now, because the dysfunctional personal, professional, and romantic relationships I had. And just on that, like the dysfunction was like being a drug dealer, like cheating on so many women, not that I'm proud of any of this. And then also just like seeing my own life in ruins financially and professionally, and letting so many people down, letting women down, and then not building that trust within myself. And that's been exceptionally tough, but you know what? It has forged the fire of like this deep, like nothing can shake me. And if it does, I have the tools and I can sit with things and I go, it's okay now. I'm like, well, what I've been through has led me to where I am now. And I'm very grateful.
Exactly. Isn't it? I love it when we can look in retrospect back and, what
Yeah.
was so painful and emotionally breaking, and just know that's what built us up. We'd never be the people we are today without it. And this is why, this format of Heart Warriors I love, because men who are watching that are at that broken stage can see that every single man went through it. Excuse me, went
Yeah.
through it, and how now we find out how they worked their way up. I'd like to there's a couple of points I want to go back to. The first one is, can you please speak directly to men who are maybe separating, who have children, that primary school sort of,
Yeah.
preteen, that sort of age you were. Can you
Yeah.
talk to them, give them any tips now that you're on the other side of it as an adult?
Yeah.
How is there anything you think your parents could have done differently, not within their relationship, but how they presented their divorce to you?
Yeah. Do you know what I think it is? I actually want to touch on their relationship just for a second, because I think this might be true. And this is what's true to me. I believe we have our intuition in our gut. And when we slow down enough, we can really listen to that. And that's our truest, like, truth. And when my dad was with my mum and he was about to walk down the aisle, I know those thoughts come through your mind. Have I made the right decision? But he knew in his gut, thank God they were together because I wouldn't be here. But in saying that, he knew that my mum wasn't the person for him. Like, he goes, I don't know if this is the right person. So I am a massive advocate of, like, slow down enough where you can listen to that deepest part of that voice inside of you that shines through with the decisions you make, instead of making the decisions from here and all the like the feelings just coming from the body. It's like, no, when all that subsides, like, what's that truth coming through? So my dad didn't make the decision. Yeah, I might not be here or in a different form, depending on what we believe. But at the same time, that will save a lot. And the way that my dad could have delivered that, my mum couldn't deliver that. It's they did it in the best way they could. And I think in the future, it's like they sat us all down, had that conversation, and it was just so unexpected as well. But I don't think there's anything more they could have done. I think they did a really good job. But I think it's like the pre that, because I've been personally in a lot of relationship, business, personal, professional, all this stuff. That I'm like, if I listen to my gut, my intuition, and live from that place where there's like, but what about the details? What about, like, the future? What's going to happen? Like, what about all these things? All these things. I'm like, when I listen to my gut, it's like, that's the truth. And I learned a lot of that from a company called TPT. And then also a few other people, like, slowing down. It sounds like simple and basic, but how many times I haven't made decisions from that place, and your parents make decisions from that place, so much will change.
Right. Yeah, so good to know. And I also liked what you said about how you rebuilt the relationships with your family members, your mother, father. Let's go to
Yeah.
that. So, a lot of people, especially what's happened over the last 3 years, have
Yeah.
families have broken up.
Yeah.
Parents, brothers, siblings, whatever. So, how did you go about rebuilding those relationships?
Yeah. I remember I wasn't in contact with my sister. I wasn't in contact with my mother and my stepdad. And I was like having a bit of a tough situation with my ex-girlfriend. And I was on the phone to a coach I had at the time, like an emotional coach. And I just said to him, like, hey, this is what's going on. So I called up my sister, I haven't talked to her for a while. I'm like, hey, I want to rebuild this. With my ex-girlfriend, we just jumped on a call, like, hey, I took full responsibility. And with my mum, I drove to her house, which was about an hour and a half away. I'm like, I want to do this. It's just, as much as, like, there was part of me, excuse my French, I'm like, fuck that. I don't want anything to do with my mum, like, from all that hurt and that perceived hurt. What ended up happening when I did do this, I'm like, I know deep down, it's like, which man doesn't want a relationship with his mum? And I'm going to do whatever it takes and take my full responsibility and do a ton of deep emotional work, which I still do now, a ton, to really connect with my mother again, because I'm like, this is the person who brought me into this world. Do I agree with everything she's done? No. Has she done an absolutely fantastic job? Yes. Did she do the best that she could? For sure. Where can I take responsibility? And now when I look at my mum, I can see her traumas popping up. I can see her stuff coming up, but I'm not letting it affect me like it used to. I'm like, oh, that's just her stuff. But I just like see her heart, even though sometimes things like, I'm like, Mom, come on. But it's not like I won't go into like losing my shit. Like, Mom, what the blah, blah, blah. I'll just more just go, I see underneath all these parts that are there, all this stuff, there's just love. And she's trying to love me the best way she can. And even if she doesn't take responsibility, it's like maybe she might be older than my biological mother, but I might be older in like a spiritual sense. I know that sounds a bit woo-woo, but I see it like that. And maybe we're here to both teach each other lessons. And when I was in those situations, I'm like, I like the Stoic philosophy of like the obstacle is the way, and I've really tried to apply that in the most parts of my life. As much as that is definitely not easy, but then when I sit in that, I've seen how that served me super well.
I love that. The obstacle is the way. Nice.
Yeah,
Because so many people avoid that, right? Can you give us another example? Because that's profound. That's like choosing the hard path, right? So instead of
yeah.
going around something, you're going to tackle it head on. Is
I
there
think that's just.
an
Oh, sorry.
incident? Yeah, is there another incident like to give us another example of how you chose that to tackle the or go through the obstacle instead of avoiding it?
Oh, oh, so many. I think it was like, phew, do you want professional or personal or
Doesn't
childhood?
matter, whatever you want to.
Okay. One of the hardest things I did when I was at school, actually, there was a guy who wanted to have a fight with my friend who I thought was my friend. And then I ended up going, you know what? I'm gonna step in for him. I'm gonna fight him. And this is when I ended up having two amateur boxing fights long after this because I was so hurt because I got my ass kicked, like really in front of. So then I said to him, like, meet me after school. So I met him after school, and then there was 100 school kids. Like people were meant to be my friends. And I never forget, I got absolutely the shit kicked out of me in front of everyone at school. Everyone. And then the hardest part was, still to this day, I'm like, not one person out of those 100 people who watched stayed around to help me out. Not one person. So I basically had to pick myself up, skateboard home, and my whole face was bloody and messed up because I got my head kicked in. I went home and I bawled my eyes out to my mum. I haven't told many people this story actually. And then it got posted all over the internet a long, long time ago. And then what ended up happening is if I don't come to school the next day, that's going to be even worse. So then putting on my shoes and going, I'm going to go to school and do whatever it takes to be in front of all these people and be the laughing stock of the whole school. Even my girlfriend, my brother, and my sister would have been so embarrassed. And I just put on my shoes and go, I'm going to do this. And then I got suspended and all this other stuff. I got banned from camps, whatever. But it's just that emotional embarrassment and going, who really has my back? And that's why over these years, developing that community and that brotherhood of men where it's like they love me for me regardless of how much money I've got, how jacked I am, or whatever my physique is, and etc. And that was tough, but I'm like, usually I just like push through it, but now I try to consciously go look at all the things like what's my choices and then make that decision. But it's really built that deep resilience and like never give up attitude. And also when I was younger, being a carpenter and getting up at like for a whole year minimum. I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, run 2 to 5 kilometers, go to a shitty apprenticeship making $300 a week on average, get told basically you're crap all day, and then go to boxing and then like learn how to box and be in the ring and then like train 6 days a week and then go out there and meet women because of my profession with the sexuality. So that was a lot of stuff that I'm like, I just see there's an alternative. There's something more for me. And like that, it was only like a little spark. I'm like, I'm going to follow this, even though cognitively I'm like, it doesn't make sense. How am I going to get through this? And the biggest saying, another one from my mentor, Dr. John Demartini, said this. I rather have the whole world. I rather have the whole world against me than my own soul.
Wow. That's
So it's just super powerful to be on this journey of, like, since day one, doing my best to follow my tears of inspiration, as he'd say. And like when you get those chills and those goosebumps. And then when I do the work I was doing, like through sexuality or whatever, it was just teaching, whatever it may be. I've always loved that. I just start crying. I don't know why I start crying. It's like you're following your tears of inspiration. And when you follow, you tell us that, like, your highest, this is your deepest reason why you're here. Your soul's calling. Everything else works out, and you can deal with challenges and adversity so much stronger. So yeah.
Oh, I love that, Andrew. Thank you for sharing that with us. That is profound. I just absolutely love it. Yeah, well, wow, what a lot of resilience. And even when you were a child, that's amazing. That's really, yeah, something amazing. And it's obviously set you up for life now. So, out of your adulthood, what would you say was your absolute rock bottom moment? And then we'll just see some basic steps that you spiraled on up from there.
Ooh. It was 1 year ago, actually. One year and 2 months ago. I went through two really intense breakups. I cheated on two women. I've only told this story publicly once. I ended up losing about $2 million on paper. And I went from to be exact, it was about 1.8 million to 60 grand overnight, like this. And I was building up my net worth for like about 3 years. It was in crypto fund. So that was in the fund. It was going up. I'm like, this guy came to my retreat. I'm like, he's like, I'm your money guy. I'm like, cool. I'm your sexuality guy. I'll help you with that. Cool. So then every month I'd be investing with him. That was going up steadily. So I'm like, cool. And then I end up having 15 people in that fund as well. And then we were just friends. They wanted to join. So I lost nearly $2 million overnight like that. I had two really intense breakups that I went through, that like my own personal stuff came up. Got kicked out of my own house because I cheated on both the women, and I can understand why. So that's my bad. Had three people die in the space of 3 months. My house got robbed on Christmas Day while I was in the house having a shower. And yeah, a few other things, and then I nearly lost my business. So this all happened, and I'm like, oh, I got humbled to my knees. I'm saying that back then, like, you see me now, short hair. I don't know if you've seen the photos of me. Like, I used to, like, I'm 95 kilo. We'll talk about where I went to, but I'm like, oh, if I say this, if you're not humble, the universe will humble you. And the universe completely humbled me and goes, wake the up. And I'm like, and I'm not very good at listening. So it had to push me to this point where it's like, I'm going to take everything away from you. This perceivedness, like the money and the women, the how to be a successful man. And then I'm like, okay, I'm sitting I got kicked out of my really lavish place. I was living in Bali. Then went to a share house for like $300-400 a month. I'm like, all right, let's go. What are we going to do? Yeah. I don't know if do you want to keep going about where I went from there, or?
Well, yeah, and I just want to make a correction because on my intro I said you're living in Bali, but I've since found out you're living in
No
Malaysia.
problem.
So I just had to put that in so it made sense now with the narrative. Okay, so that rock bottom moment.
Yeah.
What was the first step you did to start spiraling up?
I had a lot of conversations with really close people. Like, that's when you realize brotherhood and close friends And I never forget how humbled I was. Like when someone's like, "Hey, Andrew, how much money do you need? I'll send you whatever money." I'm like, I'm so glad I fostered all those beautiful relationships before this. And then it just started to pop. And I'm like, one person gave me, a guy called Jamie White. He said to me, "Andrew, in these situations," because this guy I think was in about $1 million of debt, and he goes, "You just got to take it one day, one step at a time." As much as that's simple, is so profound for me. I was like, all I can do, and it's like, even against Stoic philosophy, what can I control? And I looked into that. I'm like, what can I actually control today? Back then, I was really skinny, about 81 kilos, long hair, long beard. Everyone's like, "You look like sex Aussie Jesus," which was funny. But now it's like a completely different vibe. I'm like, I want to change. I want to get back into the gym. And I just went to the gym like 6 days a week. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to get back to gratitude. That's what I can control. It's like the simple things that most of us know we should be doing, but we just don't do. But I'm like, these are things I can control that will make me feel better. Then I'll never forget, at these times, I had my business partner now, who's a huge investor in Australia. He came to my retreat and attended my retreat, and he goes, "You changed my life so much. If you ever need any advice or help, let me know." I'm like, okay. So I ended up calling him up, and this guy was a guy who sold his company for about first company for about 7 million, a second one for about 140 million. He's financially set, and he just said, "Andrew, what do you need?" And I'm like, "Poor." He's like, "Would you like to go in? Would you like me to be an investor in your company?" So through my darkest times, and there's always that like DeMartini again, like it's like support and challenge is always equal support. So in the darkest times, I had a huge investor from Australia go, "I want to invest in your company because you changed my life and I want to help you through this." Another guy months before that, no, sorry, another guy around that time, he just goes, "Andrew, I just want to give you $10,000 just because you changed my life." I was like, I just started crying my eyes out. And then he's like, "Thank you." He's like, "Yeah, what you did for me." I was like, I can't take 10 grand from you. He's like, "Dude, it's nothing." Then one of my other close friends who I did work for back in the day, he's like, "I'm running this company called the Peace Timeline. It talks all about men's self-love, and like women as well." But he ended up going, "I want you to come on this free call." I'm like, "Dude, I feel too fucked up right now, to be honest, to jump on this call." And then I was just on the call in front of like 60 guys crying. And then I end up signing up for their programs. I took full responsibility. All the money I had in the bank account at the time, I even like all the money I didn't have, I spent 15, no, 20 grand on a program. And then I end up on a self-love program. And then I end up spending like 12, 15 grand as well on another coach. So I called all my close people, like, "Cool, I'm in a position. I'm going to take full responsibility." So then I ended up working with this coach for 7 months, both of them, both self-love, doing retreats and all this. I'm like, I'm going to do what it takes, going to the gym, gratitude, all this. And I was chipping away day by day by day by day. I'm like, I'm not going to stop, and just like, don't look at the future, just look at the day, what I can do today. And then a day turned into a year, and a year later, where I am now, I was 81 kilos. I'm now 94 kilos. So I nearly put on 12, 13 kilos of muscle. I think it just stopped.
No, you're right.
Oh, good. Yeah, I put on about 12 to 13 kilos of muscle. Um, we started to build up the business, and we actually set up some really significant changes there. I met an incredible woman who I'm connecting with. And then I also moved to Malaysia, set up a team here. It's just the gym, the foundations, really great people, phenomenal business partner with as the investor. And it just happened by like being completely upfront with people, like, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. I'm in a position, and be willing. I think men, we're not, it's hard to ask for help. It's hard for me. I'll speak for myself. It's so hard for me to ask for help. And then when I asked for help, I realized how many people were willing to put out their hand, because back in the day, I helped out so many people and put out my hand. And then it's like, of course I'll help you.
This is great, Andrew. I love what you said about just focus on day to day and also focus on
Yeah.
what you can control. They're
Yeah.
great tips out of there. And gratitude, now gratitude is massive in my world. I basically walk around
Yeah.
just thankful for everything. And honestly, everything falls into place. For me, it
Yeah.
is the number one key. Even, I mean, I guess it's similar to love, but even more than love is gratitude. I think it's got a high frequency. Can you explain
Yeah.
why you think gratitude is so important and how you actually implement it into your life?
Every day, actually, I can actually show you what I do every day. If you give me a second, I'll just go grab something. So hold
Would you like
on.
me to pause?
Yeah, pause for a second.
Great. What do you got for us?
All right, what do I have? So the importance of gratitude. This is my gratitude box, as you can see. And every day what I do is I get a sticky note and I put it inside of this box and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. And it's and I've written on the box again, this is D Martini. He had such an impact on my life a long time ago and still does. I'm grateful every day in every way for everything I have and everything that's coming. And the more I'm grateful for, the more I have to be grateful for. And I just see it's like, if I can't be grateful for the small things, why will the universe give me big things? If I can't manage small money, why will the universe give me big money to manage? If I can't manage one relationship, why will the universe give me multiple? So the universe, I believe, gives us what we can handle. And that's why the more that I'm grateful, the more I have to be grateful for. And I've seen that just build up. And it's just grateful for those small things. And I used to be like this, I was a loose cannon drug dealer, like all this other stuff, like out of control. It's like the world, things are happening to me, but I'm like, no, they're happening for me. And it's a completely different shift. And when that's happened, I'm like, oh, okay, what can I be grateful for? And the universe is always in balance. I truly believe that at my core, even though I go, why? Like it's sometimes like, why is this happening right now? But I'm like, how is this going to benefit me in the future? And I really try and slow down and take a step back and be the observer of my life and go, cool, that's me. Because sometimes I believe we get stuck in so much of like, that's happening to me. Take a big step back. I'm like, will this actually matter in 5, 10, 20 years? And if not, I'm like, take a deep breath and go, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the gratitude just opens up my heart and gives me perspective of like, and even when I look at this box, as you can see, it's like we've been doing this since the start of the year. And I just look at it, and if I have a crap day, I look at it, I go, look how many things I have to be grateful for since the start of the year. That is so incredible. And it just like really lights me up. And then I get to put that in there. I don't just say things like I'm grateful. I really slow down and speak from my gut and go, I'm grateful for this. And even if it's something of like having the ability to have this microphone to speak to you, it's like just small things that it feels like it's building my life in a holistic way and incremental steps. Before I felt like I was on this, not literally, but figuratively, this cocaine diet of like massive highs and massive lows. Now I feel like my life is more incrementally going up like this sustainably, where before it was like this hair of like this teenage king trying to run around and just be the man. Now it's actually going, how can I actually be the man by my actions and being really grateful for all the small things and people around me. So, yeah.
And I could answer this question, but I want you to
Yeah.
answer it because I could
Yeah.
talk about gratitude all day.
Yeah.
A man or women, lots of women watch this too, but I like to keep it aimed at men because you're doing the talking man to man. The man sitting there thinking, I've got nothing to be grateful for.
Ooh, you've got to take a really strong, hard look at your life. You have to take a strong, hard look at your life if you don't think you have anything to be grateful for. It's like the reason that you're probably in the position you're in is because you've closed down your heart, and the gratitude is the key to opening your heart. And if you're like feeling like, oh, my life's terrible in so many respects, this is a great way to start. The fact that you're breathing, that you're reading, that you can write, the fact that you can just even watch this podcast alone, that you could probably go get a glass of water out of the tap, even though you might like, oh, it's full of chlorine. I don't care. You actually got running water. Start there, and then you watch how much it will expand from there completely.
Oh, I totally agree. I always say, even if you've only got the next breath to be grateful for, or you've got two legs, there's lots of people that have only got
Ooh,
one leg, or as you said, eyes to see. Start with the small things. You've got a roof over your head. You know, you've got a pair of shoes. There's always something to be grateful for, and you start with that. And yeah, it really expands. And as I said, to me, the number one key that got me, you know, the life that,
yeah,
you know, that makes dreams come true. Definitely love it, love it, love it.
100%.
We better move on because I said I can talk about grandchildren.
That's great.
um, I'm sure there was something else, but let's move on to where were we? So you found your gratitude. Are there any other practical tips that you think are pivotal to talk about in this spiral up, you know, in the past year or so to get you back to where you are today? Because I mean, you were already financially, you know, established those few years ago, so you know it's something you can rebuild. Is that must be
Yeah,
an effect on you, right? That you've done
yeah,
it once, you can redo it. But I'm interested in the difference this time. So if you mentioned yourself, the first time it was built on maybe more egotistical service to self,
correct.
sex, obviously, you know, money, but what's going to be different this time when you're rebuilding your castle?
That is building a castle, building an actual castle, not a tent. That's
Well, if
that's the
that's what you
difference.
want, I don't know. I just thought, you know, the way you're talking, you were sort
No,
of talking
100%.
up.
I hear what you're saying. I'm just making more of a joke of like before I thought I was building a castle, but I was building a tent on not great foundations. And
Right, yeah.
it was like this. It was just think about it. If it's a teenager, it's what it felt like, a teenager trying to build something, build it quickly and as fast as I can to get to the top, and just like whatever it takes, and all that energy and that hurt, a lot of pain, and I want to be the best, kind of like I'm the best, fuck the rest kind of vibe. It's like cool, it gets me so far, but then at the same time, when I'm at the top, I remember when I did the like launched the book and got bestseller. I remember sitting there, I'm like, who cares? What does this actually matter? Like, or having a woman going like, you're the best in the bedroom. Oh my God, Andrew, I love that. Or having another client going, you changed my life and it was the best experience. And I made her have so many orgasms. I'm like, it's great, but it's not about that. So it's like a lot of my own personal maturity. And I believe that's why the universe took away all my money. So like I went through those breakups because it's like, you need to grow up. And that's what ended up happening. And then I learned so much along that process of like, what's going to be different this time? I'm happy to be the turtle. I'm happy to build something deeply, deeply sustainable. And I'm not looking like 1 to 3 years in the future. I'm looking like 20 years in the future. I know where I'm going to be when I'm like 38 to a T. It's already started. The movements are already in check, and I'm taking it day by day, week by week, and checking things off, which feels great. I have a really strong team and great people around me. I have excellent, yeah, the support is different. The way I see things is completely different. I just feel like I'm sharing that deepest message, and I'm not afraid to share so much more about the man I am. And that's why when I sent you like the mission of what we do, it's so much more deeper than just, hey, just let's be great in bed. Because when I was back then, I was attracting a lot of men who were just like, I just want to be good in bed and just give her an experience, and that's it. Where that's where I was at. But now it's more like men who go, oh, I want to be a really great lover, but I also want to understand like how to step up as a man. So that's why we talk about being it used to be how to be the best you ever had inside and outside the bedroom. So it's more egocentric, how to be the best. Now it's more become a powerful masculine leader inside and outside the bedroom. So before, you can see like the difference in wording. And I just feel like I've matured an absolute ton. I've softened, like for those 7 months when I was going through that therapy with those two coaches, I kid you not, for 7 months, every day for every day, pretty much for 7 months, I was crying. Apart from about 3, 4 days of just like releasing stuff and dropping more and balancing my masculine and feminine, we can call it, and just softening. And I feel like I've softened so much more. where even when at school time, when I got my head kicked in and that was really tough, I ended up doing a reactionary thing and learning how to fight. So that's why I had two amateur boxing fights. I won one and lost one by decision. But it was just like I never want to be in the position where I can like ever have some physically take advantage of me again. But then at the same time, there's always someone stronger and more physically capable. There's someone richer, which all that it's like it's a losing game if I'm trying to be the best. And like that's why I've set very clear structures and goals that are specific to my individualistic needs, opposed to trying to do it for someone else. And now I just feel like I'm a messenger sharing what's important to me. And I appreciate this opportunity of being here, that I just get to share this message. And yeah, it's great to be amazing in bed and both partners have a great sex life, which I'm all for. But then it's like deeper behind that when men get to emotionally open up and really emote what's going on, and they get to share the heart warrior. Yeah, they get to share their heart with people in their life. And when people can feel that, it's like it just bursts open. I believe that's how true deep connections are formed with men and women, and so many things change because of that.
Well, Andrew, I'm really keen to get into this part of it, men's
Yeah.
sexuality, opening the heart. But first of all, let's understand how you got into the line of being a sex coach. How did that
Yeah.
happen?
It's a great question. I never thought I would be in this position. When people go, you're a sex coach, I know I am, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like I am. I feel like I'm just sharing a message. I got into this because a long time ago, I was a bit of a bad boy and I was like selling drugs, and I ended up having like three monogamous relationships, which doesn't make sense, I know, and being with a married woman and her best friend while selling all these drugs, and my life was chaotic, you could imagine. And then what ended up happening is I got caught from the women, and I got caught for selling drugs, and then I nearly went to jail, but I didn't end up going to jail. I ended up going to community service. So I had to serve 100 hours of community service. And in that time, I had nothing better to do with my time than to kind of like, there was this second woman in charge. So I was hitting on her, and we're having these conversations, and she was in a relationship. Then they end up breaking up. And then she's like, "Can you come over my house tonight?" And I was like, "Okay, what for?" I rocked up to the house, and there she is. She's like wearing lingerie, and let's just say we had a really, really good night. It was just turbulent, but it was just like turbulent all over the shop. It's just like this relationship that was so toxic, and then wasn't even a relationship. It was just like we're just having fun. Then what ends up happening is one night she sits me down. She's like, "Can I be honest with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool, of course you can." And she goes, "I just want to let you know, Andrew, I'm not enjoying this, and you're shit in bed." And I was like, oh, that crushed me as well. That absolutely crushed me. And you know what the worst part is? Because this might sound egotistical, but I don't care, because I want to like really dispel how bad this was. Like a lot of guys like, "Oh, that's okay, but that's okay because you can be you got told you're shit in bed." But the thing is, I got told I was shit in bed, and I was just like, I thought I was the man. I thought I was the man and knew what I was doing. I thought I just like, well, was the king when it comes to pleasing women. But then she just crushed me. And then I'm like, oh, there's no way around this. So I got really angry. Like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? Then we didn't talk, and then we kind of broke things off. But then I'm like, I need to take responsibility. I want to take responsibility. And then I ended up just finding mentors. I'm like, cool. I know there's sex therapists out there, there's doctors, there's sexologists, there's like kink and tantra people, all this stuff. But like, I didn't really care about what the name or the label was. I'm like, there's like, even like you can go on Google and search where the anatomy of a female genitalia and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't care about that. I just want to be the best a woman's had inside the bedroom, and I want to learn everything there is. I don't to know how to please a woman. So I literally just go. I found my first mentor, Shay Matthews, who took me under his wing. Sometimes I'd drive like an hour and a half from Hoppers Crossing all the way to North Fitzroy, about an hour and a half away in traffic, just to spend half an hour with him to learn from him. I did his course, The Way of the Black Dragon. It was like more tantra and masculinity and men's movement stuff. Like, this is amazing. This is so cool. Then and then we're just doing all these like weird exercises. I was like, what are we doing, man? Like all these tantric exercises. I had no idea what this was. And I just wanted to explore that one. Then he introduced me to a guy called Dominic. And then I went up to Sydney. That was more BDSM. And sometimes I'd go to parties with him and there'd be women, there'd be 9 or so women lining up for him to give them an experience. And then I'd be at his house with like all these sex toys. He had like 150, 200 kilos of sex toys. And I was at this guy's house and then we'd go to sex parties and I just learned all these things. So it was a very practical, hands-on experience. And then another woman I met was Red, and she took me under her belt, and she like got this silicone sex doll, and she'll show me how to like make a woman come and finger it just by this doll. And then I had this other mentor who was Tao Semko, who was very, very spiritual and had so much deep Eastern philosophy understandings and Seder. There's so many people. I just basically traveled the world, did events that I could to get the practical advice because I wanted to learn this stuff. And it was just so fascinating. And then I ended up running my own sex parties at one stage and then teaching other people how to do that. I'm like, I don't really want to do this anymore. And then like, there's just so much in between, but I don't know which details you want to go, but it was just an absolute obsession because my void was like, I have a huge void. I don't know what I'm doing, became a value and I wanted to learn this. So then egotistically, I wanted to have women say, you're amazing in the bedroom. Started happening, cool. But then at the same time, I'm like, there has to be something deeper than this experience. And then it was like that progression from there as well.
What I want to go back to is when you said, okay, so she said you were shit, but in the meantime, you thought you were doing fine.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to talk to me about the difference there because it is, an issue often. So, what is it that you thought you were doing right that she thought wasn't in agreement with?
Yeah, just everything. I was selfish. It was about me. I was just trying to just get off as quick as I could. I wasn't trying to like really listen to her about what she wanted. Like I just thought I knew what I was doing, where it's like every woman's different. Every woman's like pussycat's different. So I'm like, this is just like so silly for me to think I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to like rush things and not take my time. I was just like, I'm the man, where it's like it's so funny to look back and reflect.
Did you
And
get your sex education from porn?
I didn't watch a ton of porn, but I know a lot of men do. I just kind of like thought, oh, like you just you just touch the clit and just go fast, and you just kind of hear your buddies talking about stuff. It's kind of like I hear my buddies in the school ground and stuff like that, and you just know what you're doing. But yeah, watching a few things on porn, but it was mainly just I just wasn't humble enough, and that's why I got humble. If you don't humble, the universe will humble you. So I got humble.
Do you think it's a case of until a man comes into his heart where presence is plays a big part of it?
100%.
He just wants to, maybe be in his head in the mental state. He's goal orientated, performance based, and is that to avoid vulnerability and presence?
Oh, that's a huge can of worms, and that is completely correct. I believe I wasn't conscious then. Like I was back then, I was like selling pills at local nightclubs, drinking alcohol, and you can imagine the rest of the shenanigans and hanging out with notorious bikie gangs. Like that's a different type of consciousness that I was playing in. And then to coming now like, hey, you can have full body orgasms and you can have like you can have an orgasm without ejaculation and yeah, drop into your heart and slow down and do some breaths together. When I first did this stuff, like that's where I see men go through the full range. It's like I can really empathize. I'm like, dude, I've been there. I've been like that bogan carpenter, like of like going, dude, what the fuck is that weird hippie shit? To like loving that all and living in Ubud doing magical rituals under the full moon. So, and then like bouncing between full spectrums of both to dropping deep into presence and opening my heart and crying in front of other men and women and showing that deep, vulnerable emotionality. And I believe 100% what you said. If a man can't drop into his deepest presence and drop into his heart, that's half the time that he's like, I deal with 60% of men I work with have premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, struggle to get it up or keep it up, or they can't come in the bedroom with a partner. It's because half the time it's like psychological and emotional, because their heart is not connected to the genitals. And if they're not connecting to their heart, they're not relaxing, they're not opening up. They're stiff here, stiff in the chest, stiff all the way down, solar plexus, genitals. And if you're stiff, it's like I'm telling a man metaphorically, if you have a gun to your head, try and get it up. If someone's holding a gun to your head, you won't be able to. It's like that same feeling, like that fight or flight. Instead of being with a woman and going, hey, let's just take a little bit of time tonight. He's a little bit shy, but I still find you super attractive, but let's just like slow down. And which man usually with a woman wants to take that pressure off and go, hey, let's go slow down and drop into their heart. But it's not just this. This is where I have this. I believe 100% it's dropping into the heart. But then what it is, it's like that man who has the triangle of what I discussed, like in the foundation of my work. It's like being the soft, the silly, and the savage. It all comes from love. And this is where it is. But it's like the man who can definitely go really soft and gentle and slow inside the bedroom and be caressing and really gentle. But then he can also have fun and let himself just be silly and playful and not take himself so serious, which allows him to drop into the heart again. But then also be that savage, let out that wild fucking man and like that ravishing primal aspect where people sometimes don't go, oh, that's not love. It is. It's all aspects of being able to drop into your authentic self. And when you can do that, dropping into that, and it's dropping into the depths of your heart, and then you're allowing that woman to really be her soft, her silly, her savage, and allow her fullest expression out as well, and being present with what you feel, because maybe in a day you feel more soft, you might feel more silly, depending on what it is, and maybe oscillate through the sexual experience instead of judging yourself. It's like, it's time to get to the bedroom, it's time for business. You put on your business hat, I'm like, I gotta be dominant. It's like this. I'm like, what the hell is that, man? Dominance. This is what dominance is for me. Dominance is leadership. Leadership is love. So it's like dominance is just leading a person through the experience because they want to. And then people don't really understand dominance so much. It's like dominance versus domineering. A lot of people go, oh, dominance is bad in this like PC culture. It's like, no, domineering is bad, because dominance is both parties win and one person's leading the other person with consent. Domineering is one person is like forcing the other, and the person is like saying, I don't want to do this. It's kind of like this tyrannical leadership, which is just, it's not even leadership, it's tyrannical, like just insanity, should we say.
Oh, there's so many ways we can go here, but I really want to focus on, for a man who's not, well, what's the difference? I loved how you said that, the heart played such a big part in connection with the sex. So how does a man know if he's connected his heart to his genitals? And like, you've been through both, like you thought you were doing fine. What's the difference in yourself as a man from one to the other? How does a man know?
Yeah. So I made the distinction before about like sometimes there is like actually physical things that, like, say a man has like prostate cancer or he has some really stuff going on downstairs that's actually physical. So that might not be connected to erectile dysfunction in regards to that. But then when it comes to other things, like usually it's the emotional stuff. So say he's like everything's all functioning, he can get an erection just by himself, just on this note. And he can get an erection to porn, or he can get an erection when he's not around his partner, but then he can't get around his partner. Maybe he feels shut down with her and he hasn't opened up. So for me, that's a big determining factor. Sometimes I might not be able to get it up around a woman if I'm trying to force things. Like back in the day, I could get it up because I was super unconscious about that. But now if I'm with a new partner, I need to have that time or my body won't actually function, because I'm like, I want to like relax into the experience and take my time. So I'll feel that, and then I'll feel like my heart open. And what happens is, like, for men, I suggest like taking that time, because like you might feel this distance when you're with a partner, you're trying to force and make it happen in the bedroom, instead of like, hey, let's organically let things flow. Still have your backbone as a male, allow her feel your masculine physical strength, which is great, which I have like an exercise called the caveman. You're with her and you can pick her up and be a bit fun. So it's like that, showing that playful energy, and like, oh, he's strong, he's powerful, he can take control, he can lead. But then it's like, when you're having that conversation in the bedroom, you can sit there and like, hey, I just want to let you know, let's just take our time tonight and enjoy. There's nowhere to be. There's nothing to do. I've got your back. A really beautiful line I like to say is like, I've got you. I'm here. You can't just say the line. You've got to feel it. I've got you. I'm here. And I really appreciate you. And let's just like, if you don't feel comfortable doing something, just please let me know. And you watch the woman go like this. Oh my God, thank you. Because like she might feel all this pressure to be able to be good in bed or do something. And then like that takes off that pressure. And then that's where the hearts can start to connect. And then that's where the sex gets so much better. If you feel like you're disconnected or you're being present, not being present in the bedroom, what will also happen, you'll know, is like guys think, oh, if I'm thinking about another woman or I'm thinking about like my sports game, women know so deeply. So what happens is like sometimes guys like, I had this woman in like doggy style. I know she won't know because I'm thinking about another woman. But then a woman may turn around and go, can you stop? I'm not really feeling this. I'm not really there. You're not really here. I don't really feel comfortable. She's just basically saying you're not present. I don't feel your heart in this situation, regardless what position it's in. And that's why guys try and focus on this perfect position. But the perfect position is the presence and the connection with the partner, and then allowing that safety, number one, the safety like emotionally, and a safety that she knows that she can say stop, and you will really stop and honor that and not make her feel shamed. And I'm really trying as well to encourage men to, how can you allow a woman to feel unapologetic about her sexuality, like encourage the openness of her sexuality. And when you do that, it will open her heart again. Number two, it's like, I'm just going to accept anything that you say, even though a guy might not want to do what she says in the bedroom. Because believe me, there's some women who are freaky. Some guys like, dude, she says some freaky shit. I'm not down for that. I'm like, but accepting her in that, it's like the acceptance and the non-apology and not being apologetic about what you say and what she says, and giving that space where you can both open up. There's so much to talk about, but you kind of get where I'm going, I hope, with all this.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, presence is profound. And I love how you said, the bit that let's just go slow. There's nowhere to be, there's nothing to do. And I think as we move into these higher consciousness relationships, it's not goal orientated, it's not performance based, it's connection and presence, and that
Yeah.
ultimately leads or doesn't lead to whatever, but it's a beautiful experience. Let's talk about emotional connection now.
Yeah.
Please talk about it in regards to men and women. Like it may be in just the basis. A man doesn't necessarily need emotional connection. He's fine with just the physical. Whereas a woman, it is more important. But as now men, you're saying, are coming into the heart, does
Yeah.
that match a woman's need for emotional connection? Can you open this subject, please?
That's another really great question. You're definitely, I just see it as this, the more I've gone through life, everything is a mirror. Everything is such a deep mirror. And when I look at it, I'm like, if this person's shut down, like, where am I also shut down? And I'm feeling that. I'm like, I know I just won't attract a woman who's shut down now. And if they are, it's like, I will hold them to a high standard. So when I'm with a woman now, I'm like, I want to know you. And I'll say something like, let's cut the crap. Like, yeah, I really want to know who's behind, honestly, who's behind this. Because you know what? If we really want to have a really great intimate connection, this is what's going to be really part of it. And I want to know this. And between men and women, if they hold each other to a higher standard of going, let's open up and let's go there. I'm like, I'll say to a woman, just random example, like, hey, Gemma, I really want to get to know you. I really want to get to know what's behind that mask. I want to know like what's really deeply, I want to know who you are, what you don't tell anyone else. Like, doesn't matter. You're not going to scare me. You're not going to push me away with anything you say, because this is really important to me. And I want to have a place where you feel safe, where you can say anything. And I want to have a place where I feel safe, where I can say anything. Is this the kind of connection you want? And most of the time when we'll go, yes, I'm like, great. Let's have that as the foundation of what we do moving forward, because the rest of our life will just be, the rest of our connection that we'll have together will be so much more deeper and profound. And I want something deep and I want something profound. And I want to have this place where we can open up about the emotions, where we can, if we feel angry, we can let that out, because that's healthy, in a healthy way. We do feel sadness, we can both cry. I want to be with someone who I can feel held by. Are you down for this? And if a woman's like, no, I'm not, then I don't really want to be part of this. I really want that deep emotional. So it starts with the man. I always say it starts there. And then if a woman's like, oh, that's weird, she might not, you might have miscalculated that she might not have the emotional depth to go there at the moment. There'll never be a judgment, but it might be like, I don't maybe want to connect with that woman on an intimate level. But now when I'm connecting with a woman on an intimate level, it's not so much like, let's get in, let's get it done. It's more like, whoa, we're exchanging so much by being sexually intimate, where I never thought about it so much like that in the past. Even like setting up, if I'm going to have like a connection with one woman or two women at the same time, depending what it is, let's sit down, let's consciously open a container and let's close down a container, and like, let's get out. I want to have deep emotional sex. And saying that with them, I want to have this deep emotional sex. Deep emotional sex does not mean deep emotional love for the future and babies. That's why it's like you have to clear that, make that differentiating point, because sometimes, and like getting really clear about the parameters. And I like to call it setting up a container of chaos, where it's like the chaos, like, here's what we want to do. Like, just for an example, I might have coming up soon, there's like these two women I want to have a threesome with. I'm like, cool, let's open up this night for one night together. I really want to go deep and intimate. I want to open it up like this. I want to go deep with both of you. And this is what I would like to do. This is what I don't want to do. How do you feel? What would you like to do? And then opening up this discussion. And it's so fun and so playful. And then also so deeply safe for all of us involved. And then we can open this and go so deep, but then we can open this container and then close it down. And then we've had so much emotions in there that is like, and then doing this with adults from the perspective of like, who have enough awareness and consciousness to go, I can open, I can close this, and I know what this is about. And going, and then being that man of integrity who goes, I'm going to open this and close this, and then not leak sexual energy. Because in the past, I believe the most dangerous men are the men who don't open up about their emotions and don't talk about that, and they just leak all that stuff. But it's not the man who's just opening up and being like, there's a toxic kind of like leakage of like, they're just like, they don't get any sex, so they're just like kind of getting everything they can. Like, oh, looking at all these women, or the opposite of like, they're just like slyly pretending to open up to a woman to get in her pants, and then a woman will feel that, instead of like having the, where it's like the guy won't really have that backbone. That's why I'm a huge advocate of a man integrating his soft, silly, and savage, so then he can, like with the savage, be that animal, that tiger, be fun and playful and be soft. Because if not, he might just be like kind of like trying to do something and getting her to open up, but then he won't emotionally open up. So then he's getting her to emotionally invest where he's not really investing. And then it's like, it's not really a proper connection, where it's just like she's invested so much. And then he's like, I've got control, where I've done that before, instead of like going, how can I both vulnerably open up more and more and more? And if we talk about the obstacle being the way, what's the one thing that you don't want to share with this woman? And then building that connection and asking that, what's one thing that you're a little bit nervous to share with me? And I'll word it like that. It's all about the tonality. It's like, what's one thing you don't want to share with me? It's like, no, hey, what's one thing that you might feel a little bit nervous sharing at the moment? I'll go first, and then I'd love to hear from you. So I say it in that tonality, building that gap. And the deeper and deeper the emotional connection goes with that, the deeper I feel with a woman from my experience, and then the deeper that I know she feels as well. And then we get to dance. We get to have this rhythmic dance of fun, joy, and exploration about who we actually are in the deepest levels of safety, because we know where we're both at in this connection.
Yeah, so good. We could probably talk for another 2 hours. We've got about 25 minutes left. I've got so many questions. I want to know, like, if we take sleeping together on the first night we meet, or you leave it, you prolong it, and maybe after 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
what's the advantages, disadvantages? How important? I know it is for a woman. It's well, on an emotional level, we connect and bond better if we do have the emotional connection. What's your take on, I know there's no shoulds, but if you met a woman, how long would you like to wait before having full sex with her to build up the most profound connection?
I was with this woman, we didn't have sex for like 4 months. And then when we had sex, it was absolutely profound.
Mm.
And to answer that question, it's really like society is like trying to rush to get it done as quickly as possible. But for me, it's like, what about, it's not even just sex, it's the intimacy, the
Yes.
emotional intimacy, the
Yeah.
psychological intimacy, even just the physical intimacy of not penetration, the build up, the eroticism that's built between the both of you, that like that tension, basking in that. It's
Mm.
like that horny feeling where like what happens, like I'm horny, I've got to come. It's like, how about feel that horny energy and just feel it like permeating through the body, and then like enjoying, like when I'm with a woman for the first time, it's like taking off her clothes so slowly and like kissing every part of her body. It's like, this is what's being lost. It's actually, I really shouldn't have a job. I really shouldn't. It's like, if men just like took extra time in the bedroom and slowed down, I wouldn't have a job. Like, that's it. Or porn wasn't such a big industry. Like, to be really great in bed, here's just a simple sequence of like what we're, to tie into what you're saying. It's like when I'm with a woman for the first time, there's no rush to do something. And I'll have that conversation, which I had with you, like when I was pretending to have with you before. And then like just that alone, it's like, let's just go slow. And then maybe it's just like a little brush on the side of the face and just down the body, running the hands over the body, really a nice kiss all over the body, making out so deeply. Oh my God, it's like that lost art of just that kissing of the lips and that like deeply passionate kissing. And then doing that, building that up. Then when I'm with the woman for usually for the first time, when you build that deep emotional connection, what ends up happening, I talk about like how to like finger a woman, but it's actually, I just call it how to give a woman a pussy massage. And for more conscious viewers, it's kind of like giving her a yoni massage, but without that healing element, but still like similar techniques, you can say. Then doing that and holding deep presence for her, like 70 to 80% of the time, in my experience, women will just burst into tears because they've never felt so safe and so held and just like so appreciated that they can let go. Then like kissing and touching their body and just like really allowing them to like let go, relax. It's like that's the foundation. And what I try and do is like, there's no rush and pressure. I take the pressure off myself and her. Like, and what happens is the woman goes, thank you. And it's like, all I'm doing is delayed gratification consistently. Most times when I'm with a woman, I'll just be like, kiss her really well or give her a pussy massage. That's it. And maybe make her squirt. Usually squirting, most women have not done. And like all women can squirt unless they've got like serious pain there or numbness or like it's really, really tight. But anatomically, if a woman doesn't have anything like painful there, I can make her squirt. And that's what I teach a lot. You do that, it just blows open the floodgates. And it's like, what? Women are like, what just happened? Just that alone, even if it's just a beautiful kiss. Or one of my mentors, Dr. Sayeda Desilets, she said, even on a night, think about this, Gemma, for yourself. I don't know if this would tickle your fancy, but for example, I'm making you blush now. If a man just like kissed you deeply and passionately, just tell you like, let's take our time. There's nowhere to be. Let's not rush. And then all he did tonight, it's like, all I'm gonna do is just be here with you and just hold presence. And then he puts his head, he rests his cheek on your pussycat and just lays there. And his hot breath is on your pussycat and he just lays there. And he's not trying to force anything to happen. And then after, he just comes up and gives you a big hug and tells you how much he appreciates you. With no ulterior motive, he just does that. And like, hey, we've got no rush. Let's just take our time.
Yeah, that's so good, Andrew. And because, I mean, on
You
in
look like you're blushing.
probably speaking generally, us women like to take it slow, and the men, well, sort of are the ones that do want to be quicker. And we always feel that, we're on the defensive there a bit between, the two
Yeah.
time frames. What I wanted to say is, okay, so I always try and think of the questions that might come from men, right? So you've got this, when I've looked at your website and your Facebook page, you've got, you write a lot about pleasure without penetration, which, you've gone into here. And I'm thinking that some men, not all, might be thinking, well, what's in it for me? If there's no penetration, so
Yeah.
let men know what's in it for them when they're giving this beautiful presence and emotional connection to women.
Well, yeah, let me clarify that for a second. I've actually just got a product launch at the moment called Foreplay Mastery Pleasure Without Penetration. because what ends up happening is we have a lot of men who have premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, or they have so much nervousness in the bedroom. And what they feel is like, oh my God, if I can't get it up or I can't keep it up or I have to have a massive banana, then I'm in trouble. But I'm like, yo, let's take all that pressure off. So that's why I put together this like video course, so to speak. So then they can like give a woman a great experience and they can have a great experience. And then when they take that pressure off themselves, it usually allows them to get more of a rise in the bedroom. So that's why I'm a huge advocate of like, hey, let's take off the pressure of yourself first, and then we can progress forward and have really great sex instead of going, quick, I've got to get that done. And to answer your question about it's like, why wouldn't you want to give this woman this great experience? Why wouldn't you? Like, you've met this woman, you've got her to the bedroom, she's in the bedroom willingly, and you're both there. I'm like, sometimes they feel like women, she's going to run away. I've got to quickly do something. So that's sometimes what goes on through a man's psychology. Instead of going, it's not, and going, hey, lay there. I've got you. Let's take our time tonight and enjoy. So she's laying on the bed. And then it's like, I've got this beautiful goddess. I've got this amazing woman I get to explore. So that lights me up. So it's like this gift that we both get to have. And when I do this, this is where the mindset shift. It's kind of like if I just like, you just like from a business point of view, there's people from business and you go straight away like, hey, buy my shit. And someone's like, whoa, I just met you. Hey, buy my thing. Like, or a man walks up to you, I'm going to put it in you straight away. Like, whoa, I just met you. Man walks up to you on the street, like, I don't even know who you are, and you want to take me to dinner? Like, I just like, or like have sex? Like, come on, just like, let's get to know each other first. So what I do with the sex, I play the delayed gratification game, and it pays off tenfold. And this is why we're so much instant gratification in this world. But I'm like, how can I delay the gratification? And it pays off. So when I'm like kissing this woman, kissing her from head to toe, called death by 1,000 kisses, up, down, and kissing all over the body, playing, giving her a pussy massage, making her squirt, maybe going down on her, doing all this stuff, building that up. And then a woman's like, I want to give to you now. No, I don't. It's okay. But you do from that, I'm truly giving from that abundant, like filling up myself first and giving so much. It comes back, my friends who are watching this gentleman, in tenfold. And believe me, the woman's like, what can I do? How can I give to you? How can I please you? And they just feel so adored and loved. And every time I've done that, or clients have done that, it's like, oh my God, that delayed gratification has allowed me like her to just go, who are you? That's what's like quote unquote being the best, because like it doesn't even freaking matter, but it's more like it's just doing little things that men aren't doing, and then it's building the long game. And I give because I enjoy it, because she's here. And then if you don't enjoy it, why are you not? And like, and don't do something in the bedroom like, I'm only going to go down on her if she goes down on me. It's like, no, go first. You're the man. You're that leader. Go first and lead this charge and take her. She doesn't want you to go, is that okay in the bedroom? You can ask, hey, do you want me to go a little bit higher, lower, faster, slower? But it's the way you say, is that okay? Can I touch you there? It's like, and give her that permission. Like, if you're not touching her on the right spot, a lot of men have ego around this, which I did. Oh my God, I can't touch her here because like I touched my ex-girlfriend like that. So that's how I'm going to touch this woman. No, not at all. But just to cap that off, because I could go into this so much more, is like, how can I delay the gratification, go first without expectation, which is hard, breathing deeply, feeling that presence. And what happens? A woman's like, oh my God. And she will reward you tenfold. But you can't do, but the thing is, the caveat, you can't do it to get the reward of tenfold. You genuinely have to do it, give it, and like give her so much value, and then let it go. Same with what I'm doing with SQL. I give out so much stuff for free. How can I give so much stuff for free? And then it's just like, I'm not doing it to get anything in return, and it comes back. Because I used to give away so much stuff. I'm like, I want something back in return energetically. When I cut that cord, I'm like, I'm just giving this because I genuinely want to help people. And then people go, how much money can I give you? I was like, oh, it's the fucking same.
Oh, this is great. And it definitely, to leave her sort of wanting more is a lot better than sort of trying to speed things up, from a...
Gemma, I've got a quote we say at SQL. How can we leave her better and wetter?
There you go. Okay.
You are blushing. I love this. I can't wait for you to watch this back if you do.
I'm okay. I can talk about sex. Okay. So I want to know, are women's genitalia complicated for men? Like, some men maybe are a bit sort of, they don't want to admit that they maybe don't know all the anatomy. So can you give some tips to men about women's anatomy, please?
Yeah, that's a great one. It's like the first rule I always say is every woman is different and every vulva is completely different. Instead of like thinking like what I did with this person worked, what I want men to do is this. It's like you don't know her body. You want to go in there with that open mindset. Yes, stuff universally helps, and I can even give you some videos that can link to actually full pussy massage guides, which are for free, which you can give to your audience so they can actually watch that if you like. And it takes, because I can't really break it down here, but it goes to actually bring on my silicone doll and go through stuff so they can watch that. But with that being said, I am consistently being.
My lights went out. Hang on, let me just pause. So here we are back, and as you see, I've had a change of clothes because it is now the next day. I had a power blackout yesterday, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I think it's going to work out that we couldn't finish the interview yesterday, but we have a bit more time today. So I have some more questions. And hi, Andrew. Welcome to, what day are we? Tuesday? You're
Yep, correct.
in Malaysia and I'm in
Yep.
Australia, so we're on Tuesday, and we'll continue right where we were.
Let's do it. I'm excited. Last night got a little bit saucy, and then the internet cut out, or it was a blackout.
We heated it up. It fused. All right. So we left off. I'd asked you a question, something along the lines of, do most men find female anatomy complicated? And you were saying that you had some videos and links that you were going to supply. We can drop down in the comments. So where would you like to take it from there?
Yeah, great question. I think we're talking about female anatomy, about how to please a woman, how do we do it, the complications around that. And the first thing I want to start off with, like, every woman is different, every pussycat is different, every vulva is different. And then it's some men think, oh, what I did on my ex-girlfriend might work on this woman. And no woman really wants to hear that, or that egotistical man going into the bedroom going, oh, this worked last time, so it's going to work now. What I really encourage men to do when I'm working with them, it's like, take your time. It's okay to have feedback. Look at her responses. Look at her reactions. Is she going, oh my God, that's pleasure? Or, oh my God, that's pain? Because sometimes I don't even know because I'm learning about a woman. And guys who are like heavy into the marketing world always love the saying when I go, you want to split test the woman. Like split test, like the marketing ad. You want to split test the woman, constantly trying, tweaking, testing, and then like just finding. And what happens when a woman's getting, if you found a good spot, don't change it. The biggest complaint I've heard from women I've been with and or the conversations, it's like you hit this spot and like she's going really, oh my God, it's building up. Guys, sometimes we get excited, so we go a little bit faster. Don't go faster. Stay at that same rhythm and that speed, and then allow her to really get into that flow instead of that changing. I'm changing things when I'm figuring out what she likes and what spots, but also what's complicated. It depends on the rhythm and the cycle of where a woman's at in her actual cycle. So it's also really determining. It's a complicating thing of like, sometimes she might want more gentle softness, and another time she might want to be ravished and pinned down and taken. It's like, or be more silly and giddy in the bedroom. So it is a little bit more complicated, but universally, I can give you some links of like how to like give a woman a pussy massage, of like just like taking your time, exploring her body, and then also just having fun. The biggest thing I see men try to do is like they take it so seriously, trying to work it out like a science experiment. When I'm saying split testings, it's like you're just kind of like maybe moving your hand a little bit more to the left, maybe go a little bit more in the higher, and then just figuring out. Some women are more internally, they love the stimulation internally, externally. Maybe it's we're putting your finger downward, maybe you're biting her on the neck and kissing. What I recommend as well is when you're looking at a woman, maybe see how she masturbates, see how she does that solo, and maybe you're sitting next to each other and you're like playing with yourself and you're looking over how she's doing that, and then you kind of take over, like, and then she takes over you like a bit of a baton relay. She takes over, and like this building up that sexual tension between the both of you. So yeah, it's a split test, and it's just like a fun, enjoyable experience, not taking it so seriously and just going, oh, I get to dance in this. And that's probably a big tip I can give for this.
Yeah, and I think just, listening to you saying that, that's why the foundation of an emotional connection first is so
Yeah.
important because, if you don't know, know them as a friend or, at least emotionally first, it's a bit hard to, maybe have the presence and the confidence to sort of stay in that state of
Yeah.
unknown and exploration. And
Yeah.
so
the
anyway,
tech the technique won't mean anything unless you have like she feels safe and connected, as we've discussed. And unless you're like, hey, I've got your back, I'm here for you. And also, when I am giving a woman a pussy massage for the first time, like usually when I'm with a woman for the first time, I'll just try and be a really good kisser, and then just start slow and running my hands over her body, and then make my hand between her legs, and then start playing gently and really build it up from there. And I heard this from Dr. Saida. She's an amazing mentor of mine. She goes, one of the most incredible sexual experiences she's ever had. And she's like had 20 plus years PhD, multiple selling books in sexuality, eros, and desire. She goes, one of the most amazing experiences I had was a man, we were going to be intimate that night, and all he did was put his cheek on my vulva and just lay there. And there was no expectation. There was nowhere to be. And by him just doing that, it took off all this pressure. And she told me she just felt so relaxed and so held and so safe. And she goes, oh, it was such an experience I'll never forget. And then having his hot breath down there. And I was like, that's so beautiful. And I could see where she was coming from. And I'm like, I took that away because even when I'm with a woman for the first time, I won't just go straight for the clitoris. Don't go, the clitoris is dessert, gentlemen. But I just put my hand over the top of her vulva and just put my hand there, take some deep breaths together and relax. If I see she's a little bit tense, because she might be tense, like, oh my God, he's going to touch me there. He's going to touch me fast. How's he going to do it? So if I see that from a woman's on her face, a little bit of tension, I'll just put my hand over there. I'm like, hey, I've got you. Let's just take our time. Breathe. How does that feel? We don't need to do anything more than that tonight if you don't want to. Just that alone, I've seen in my experience, allows a woman to go, thank you. And even with that cheek on the vulva and just putting it there and softly nuzzling in, going, hey, I'm here. And then usually women are like, I have never had that. That's when I have like a quote unquote, when I'm talking about being the best she ever had. That's pretty much, you can be such an incredible lover just by doing that, allowing that deep safety, and then building the foundation and emotional connection, as you said, from there. Then once that happens, it's like men sometimes ask, where are all these women who want to explore and do these things in the bedroom? They're all around. It's like, let's get the foundations first, which we've been discussing. Then a woman's like, you can do whatever you want to me. I'm so open to explore. Let's play.
yeah, I think just some feedback from the feminine side.
Yeah.
There's we're used to some men or experiences where for the men it's just all about the physical, it's just all about, and then we feel that we're seen as a physical body only as some sort of, relief for him, whereas to be seen for the woman inside, that takes it to a whole new level. There's the
Mm,
total difference between being seen as a physical body,
yeah.
as much fun as that can be, but to see the woman inside is like 100-fold for our
Yeah.
personal experience, to touch
Yeah.
the woman and not just the body.
Yeah, I love that, and it's so true. I was actually having an interview this morning, and this guy's like, "All right, I give my he's like, yeah, I compliment my wife on like how great she does in the business, how good of a mother she is, tell her she has a sexy ass." And I'm like, you know what she needs as well? She needs to know that like I love you. I know you love her deeply, but she needs that like verbal reassurance of like I love you for you. I care about you for you. And I just see the woman who you are, and I deeply appreciate that because you're balancing it out. Yeah, it's great. She does great in the business with you. She's a great mother. Yeah, she has a sexy body. They're great that you're complimenting her on, but then she needs what you're saying right now. And yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so good. All right, so I did jot down some more questions. Andrew, fundamental differences between men and women as to how they turn on sexually.
That's actually that's a really deep question. And ironically, it's like, oof, I just want to give a general response to this actually, because what ends up happening is we sometimes go, okay, women need longer in the bedroom to warm up, and then men are like a microwave and women are like a slow cooker. Well, yes, women do need a lot of time, generally speaking, to warm up, but there's a lot of elements that go into this. And this is why I want to give a bit of a different answer to this about saying really understanding your partner. I'm not going to go into it here because it's not my work, but people can go check it out where it is phenomenal work around sexuality. There's a thing called erotic blueprints, which is really understanding your own sexuality and the woman's sexuality. It's like there's whole studies around this, and there's qualifications around this, and there's actually links about understanding your erotic blueprint. There was like that Sex and Goop. I never watched that one, but they talk about it on there. Or maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it's kind of like it's the sexual, the kinky, the energetic, the sensual, and the shapeshifter, and they go all into depth. And then you are either primarily one, second, and then have a secondary, and then you also might be a shapeshifter. And there's like online, you can check out what you are. For myself, I'm sexual and kinky. Now, I had a partner back in the day who was sensual and energetic. So even if you don't know what it is, you can tell they're completely off. It's like we're speaking different languages. Sexual and kinky, like sexual primarily for me is like quick, go for the genitals. That's like how I get warmed up and touched. Where she's like, oh my God, I just want you to slow down and go really gentle. But that isn't gender specific. So that's why I really highly recommend, number one, looking up the erotic blueprints and finding out what you are and what your partner is, so you're on the same page. Number two, what I recommend is doing the love languages. Most people have heard of that. Go check that out and see what love language you are, so you can go check out that test. And number three, you can go bdsm.org, which is a BDSM test. It doesn't mean that you're all kinky, you're into whatever, but it allows you to understand more about your own psychology sexually and what your turn-ons are. So then between those three things, what it will be is you will actually start to deeply understand so much more about your turn-ons and how much it will actually take to turn her on, how much it'll take to turn you on. And then also, yeah, some people just think, oh, man is just sexual and a woman is just like sensual and energetic. It's not true at all. I've had women who are very, very sexual, and I'm like, hey, let's calm it down. And their sense of foreplay is like, touch me straight on the genitals. I just want to, let's get it done. Or some women need so much foreplay and so much massage and kissing all over the body and sensual touches to really get them going. And that could be the part of their sex. So the question is more like finding, and also depending again on the woman's cycle, where she's at, like how the stress levels of the man. But just overall, if we just give a general high level overview, women generally need a lot more warming up than what men are doing, and men are going too quickly just for the vaginal canal and going straight in. Instead, what I can recommend for this is like they can do this thing called inner cock, where it's like they have their cock on the outside of a woman's vulva, and they can put a bit of spit or a bit of lubricant and just hold it on the entrance, and just like by doing that and doing that for like 5, 10, 15 minutes, and just on the entrance, and getting her super turned on before you even enter. And then kind of what happened, her hips will start pulling forward and draw the man in. And then instead of thrusting as fast as they can, just hold it there. Breathe. And then what you can do is kind of like tense your cock a little bit, so she'll feel that, and she can like squeeze back on you. And then you can start the movement like this, opposed to just going in there and getting it in as quick as possible. And then that relaxation from the woman will help out a lot. That's just a little tip there, but hope that makes sense.
A little tip.
just a tip.
That's a good one. I like that. Okay, now with the same thing, differences between men and women as to the ultimate expectations of the sexual experience, like when it's all over.
Yeah.
What expectations hopefully have been met that a man would care about, and same for a woman?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's also so broad, so I got to I'll try and narrow it down, because it's really, when I'm with men, I try and help them. I hope this is answering in the right way. I'm trying to help them like set expectations with women from the start. Like not going, you're the love of my life and we're going to be together forever. And this woman gets lost in this romantic wonderland of lustful adventure and then forgets like, oh my God, actually, I just met this guy tonight. Or what is the meaning? And I really try when I'm with a woman for the first time, breaking down the meaning. Now, I'm not sitting there like, this is what we're going to do tonight. This is the meaning. And like breaking down like a spreadsheet. If I'm with a woman for the first time, I'll be like, hey, I really enjoy being in your presence. This is what I'd like to do from this experience tonight. I'd really love to explore, play, enjoy the time we have together and go out and like have a connection with you. I love that. For me, having a, like talking about the emotional connection, I'd love to have an emotional connection with you and connect with you. But hey, who knows what the future has to hold, but I just really want to enjoy and embrace tonight. So it's not setting the other person up for like, oh, there could be something more. But then what it's done, it's opened this beautiful connection and then you can close it down at the end of the night. And if you want to open something again, that's great. Because I see men and women, what they do is they leave too many things just open and not closing connections. And then it causes a lot of confusion for both parties instead of going, hey, let's open this up tonight and explore and enjoy. And let's just leave it at that. It's just simple for both parties and it's going to leave, like, imagine I met you, Gemma. We went to yoga together. We had a chat. We got coffee. And I'm like, hey, I really enjoy this. I'd love to like, would you like to have a coffee at my house? And the intention is like, hey, let's like be a little bit more intimate. Then I'm like, hey, and then we both feel that sexual tension and you feel like you're heating up and maybe we get closer to each other. Then I might say something, hey, Gemma, I'm really enjoying this. Let's tonight just take our time and enjoy and just play and just explore. And yeah, let's just really enjoy the moment with each other. And I'm like, let's just take our time and go slow. I'm not saying about future plans or stuff like that. And then by allowing that like container to be set, I say now we have a container of chaos. So we can go really deep in this and then explore what we want to explore. And then safety is being built. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And then like at the end of the night, next day, there's no expectations. Like, don't go, I'm going to call you. If I'm not going to call you, vice versa. If the woman's like, that was great, I can't wait to see you again. And if the woman's like, I can't wait to see you again, and you're the man going, yeah, I can't wait to see you either, but you don't message her, just there's no need to say that. So just really being clear with that. Yeah.
I love that. And that's beautiful masculine leadership and just safety. And the woman has the choice to accept it or not. Look, this is what, I'd like to explore tonight. And that's it,
Yeah.
isn't it, about being in the present as much as, most women would, want something to continue if it felt good. It is still really important to bring it back to the present moment because that's the only place that we can open our heart and explore
Yeah.
love and the whole experience. I love it. Nice.
Yeah, and if a man did want to see the woman again, just from that, yeah, from the leadership there, if you did want to see it, what I recommend is like you've had this experience at night, and a lot of men are so fun, it's so hard to say, I want to see you again. Like giving her that experience, like with there's this thing like retention. Why not women don't come back? I'm like, here's what you can do. You've had this experience. Maybe you've just like kissed her, given her a pussy massage, made her squirt, or you've had a bit of a penetration experience. You've had penetration, and then it's just beautiful between the both of you. Like, go like make her a tea, a coffee, like get her a juice, like get her a blanket, like ask her about the experience, have a sex survey at the end. A sex survey doesn't mean like tell me everything that was good and bad. No, it's like, oh, I really loved where we did this. I loved how you did that. And you're opening up that discussion at that end. Hey, would you like to stay? Would you like to stay over tonight? Hey, I'll put you in a cab, pay for the cab, send her a message when she gets, hey, message me when you get home. When she gets home, oh, hey, I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you so much for that. And that's it, simple. Or the next day, just to make sure she's okay. Hey, last night was fantastic. I hope you got home safe. How are you feeling today? Keep it simple like that. And then if you want to continue it, what I recommend men can do is bring up with her that night. Like, I really enjoyed tonight. I really want to see you again. Like, let's work out a time we can catch up. Even like scheduling in, like, hey, what's your schedule look like next week? So then it's like it's showing that intent and that leadership, which is like men talk about like the rejection just of like being rejected just from a woman, but it's like he's constantly setting himself up for rejection of like asking like I'd like to do this, but then women find that so attractive, even if she says no, wow. But if you're giving a woman an amazing experience and you're both having a great intimate experience again, why would she want to say no? And she feels safe and she feels like she can open up inside and outside the bedroom. So it's just like a no-brainer to do that. And then sending those beautiful messages. It's not like I'm in love with you. Just start off slow. It's like, hey, I really enjoyed the night and I really care about you. And I just want to say thank you so much for the night we experienced together. I don't know if you received a message like that, Gemma, but if you did, I'm sure you may melt. And I hope you do get a message like that, or maybe you have in the past from men, but that's what I'm trying to encourage men to do, to be like, it's being that, it's kind of like that gentleman with a backbone. That's what I'm trying to advocate.
Yeah, I love that. And anticipation, I think, from the feminine is like really important part of the process, isn't it? Anticipating once he comes back and says, anticipating the next experience. My time is one moment. I'm just going to pause. It's all happening. Okay, we're back. So yeah, I love that. Just a great explanation there. So while we're at it, we've heard about this concept of foreplay being a 24/7 experience, and it doesn't have to be obviously physical foreplay. So
Yeah.
can you give some tips and suggestions to men and ultimately, us women, how people can incorporate this idea of foreplay 24/7 into their lives?
Yeah, sexuality is a dance, and dancing with that, like sexuality is life force energy, and sexual energy is just everywhere, like having that inside of us. And like a lot of these highly successful CEOs and people who are just so driven, they go, I don't have, like, my sex drive is like gone. It's not gone, it's just redirected. So what they've done is they've redirected all their sexual energy into their business, or maybe it's into their body. I'm talking about just for the men here, or maybe it's into a pursuit. And then they go, where's my sexual energy? I'm like, it's still there. It's just redirected. And then when you have the conscious awareness that it's redirected and you want to feel that maybe inside your body and go, oh, maybe redirecting some, like when guys like, I don't feel that anymore. I really highly recommend redirecting some of that to their partner, because they go, oh, me and my partner used to be rabbits when we first met and we used to have the most amazing sex and all that stuff. But I'm just working so much now because you chose to put all your attention into your business and you neglected her. Instead of like 100% of your focus on your business, you need to direct some of that with your partner, and you watch how much she will blossom. So with the foreplay, just it's like a dance. It's like this erotic dance. It's like this tension that builds up between the both of you. Foreplay is everything, and everything is foreplay. And sometimes for women, the foreplay is way more important and is sometimes better than the actual sex. And like, it's that build up consistently over like maybe a week. So maybe you've set a date up in the week. I'm like, Gemma, I'm just using you as it's great to use an example. It's like Gemma, 7 p.m. next week. I want you to be ready. I want to take you out. And she's like, where are we going? I'm like, don't worry, I've got you sorted. And then like, where are we going? I'm like, all I want you to do is I want you to put on that absolutely sexy blue dress that you've got, and I want you to wear those high heels. So it's like setting that up. And you might go, I don't want to wear high heels. I'm like, okay, well, you can wear those other shoes that you really enjoy wearing. So then I'm like setting that up. I'm being a little bit assertive. I'm being a bit playful. And depending on the dynamic, and obviously I don't know you that well, but depending with my partner, I'm setting that up and I'm leading that example and like feeling that tension. And then what I might do is, because it's like a week away, I could be sending her a message in the meantime, like, oh my God, you have no idea what I'm going to do to you on Thursday that night. And then she's like, oh, what are you going to do? Like, then I could get out of the shower and send a photo of like, hey, I just got out of the shower and I'm thinking of you. So I'm building this all up. Maybe she sends it because it's your partner. So you're sending this sexy photo back to each other and you're building that sexual tension. Or like, oh, and when you get home from work, instead of just like giving your partner a little kiss on the lips, it's like really walking in there, holding that strong presence, that deep eye contact, running your hand through the back of her hair, pulling her in close. So like, it's so good to see you. And then just kissing her so deeply for at least 3 to 6 seconds, not like a little kiss on the lips. Like, it's like this deep, passionate kiss. And I'm like, oh, you feel so good. and then allowing a woman to know how much you see her, you feel her, and how much you desire her. And then like that pulling the back of their hair as well a little bit. If she likes that, some women don't, but then most women in my experience do. And pulling her a little bit close, and then like pulling her in close, like, I've got you. So it's like that masculine leadership. It's like that softness, but it's also that very firm and I'm here, and that presence of like, fool. And then I've seen that women just melt, and then like that dance, and then it allows a woman to really drop down as well. Because what happens when like sometimes like taking a woman to the bedroom and trying to like even just want to give her a massage, she might have like something to an email to attend to. Her mother might be calling. Something a work email. So all these things, all the mind is. So I'm like, okay, tonight I'm going to give you a massage. But what before you do that, I want you to make sure you answer all your emails, do everything you need to do, turn off your phone, take some deep breaths. And when she's laying on the massage table, I highly recommend any man to buy a massage table, about $100 off Amazon. Take a deep breath. I've got you. Let go of the whole day. Hand on her back, hand on her high back, hand on the lower back, and then going, hey, there's nowhere to be. There's nothing to do. I've got you. Relax. By doing that, I can start off the massage. She can breathe deeply. I'm not a massage therapist at all, but I just like to let my hands run intuitively over her body. I've done a few basic massage courses, sensual massage courses, but most of the time it was just like, hey, be intuitive with your touch and run your hand over her body, and then allow her to be safe by saying, I've got you. I'm here. There's nowhere to be. There's nothing to do. And just like completely let go and put on some beautiful music that she loves. And you can build up that foreplay just like that as well. So it's more of a gentle, sensuous night. And then I can like put coconut oil, or like you can do like this avocado oil that's super nice, organic stuff. Get some really beautiful stuff. Set up some some incense, things like this. And I just see when like men make this effort, women just melt and go, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's more of a sensualist night, and I can go into more of a raunchy and naughty night as well if you like to.
Well, I was going to say, when you're telling her what dress and shoes to wear, are you going to tell her to wear no panties?
Have you seen my video? That's actually something I say. There you go. You read my
My
mind.
mind.
You're a mind reader, Gemma. That's actually one of my favorite things. I teach is more of like a little bit more of a dominant, like a little bit more assertive thing, and to do in the bedroom, a bit more risque. I actually like, say we're about to go on a date, and we've known each other for a little bit. We've already built up a little bit of a dynamic, and my playful, bit more of assertive nature. I'll be like, all right, so like 7 o'clock on Friday, we're going out. I'm taking you. And what I want you to do is leave your panties and your purse at home. So those two things, because it builds up that like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Why am I leaving my panties? And like that sexual tension between the both of you. Am I not wearing underwear out? What happens if someone sees? And like sometimes women wear dresses that actually allows them to go, oh, I don't want to wear panties with this anyway, because it's a great dress. But just saying that, it's kind of like, it's your like inside joke that no one knows about. It's like inside thing that you've created, this inside like foreplay bubble. And then what also is like that dominance of like, hey, leave your panties in your purse. And also the purse, it's like, I've got you covered for night. Because sometimes like women will bring their phone, they'll have to be thinking about all this stuff. It's like, I'm trying to take away as much of the mental stuff as possible for a woman, so she doesn't have to think, so she can be truly present. She doesn't have to think about the money. She doesn't have to think about like what she's going to wear. She doesn't have to think what's going to happen that night. She can just be truly in the moment and then really relax. And if I'm with a woman who I know deeply, most of the time, pretty much all the time, a woman will be like, can you order for me? Not that I'm like bossing her around and being domineering. It's just like, I like a man who orders all the food, and then I can just like play and explore about what he does. And then like, it's not like just want to make a distinction. It's not like the first time I'm taking a woman out and I'm like, I'm ordering for you, I'm the man. It's not like that at all. It's kind of like this, I'm taking care of you, and I'm ordering, and I'm looking after the whole experience. And the little example on that before we move on, it's like, there was this woman I was with, and I was like, I was gonna take her away. I took her away for 3 days because I really wanted to get to know her. And I'm like, listen here, and this when I was in Bali. I'm like, I want you to be ready. Well, I'm like, what's your schedule like next week? And she's like, I'm free this day and that day to have 3 days off. Perfect. I'm like, what I'd like you to do is be ready at 7 a.m. I think it was like Tuesday, be 7 a.m. on Tuesday. all I want you to bring is your bathers. I want you to also bring something sexy to wear. And then I also do want you to bring just some really comfy clothes and a few other things, you know? Cool. She's like, do I need to bring this? I'm like, no, just bring the things I told you to bring. She's like, what about transport? And what about all this? I'm like, and I said this, like, this might sound like really rude. I'm like, shut up. I've got it sorted.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything. She's like, really? I'm like, so then I rocked up at her house 7 a.m. with a driver because it's Bali, and then rocked up 7 a.m. with the driver, and then I had fruit there and juice, her favorite juice. I'm like, we're off. She's like, I'm like, she's like, what about this? I'm like, breathe, everything's sorted.
Wow.
And then by her doing it, she's like, I've never had a man ever do this for me because it allowed me to completely relax. And because she's like, she's like, I've always had to like figure something out myself. But then you just made me feel so comfortable. I'm like, I've got lunch sorted, I've got the accommodation sorted, I know where we're going, I know what we're doing. And sometimes men might go, oh, it's a bit limp wristed, but it's all from the place it's also coming from. If I was doing this with an ulterior motive, like, I hope she will like me. No, I just want to shower this woman with so much love and like look after her and have that like dominant leadership. But if I was doing it from a place of like, if I do all this, then I will get some sex or then I'll get something from it. I believe women intuitively deeply feel this, or I'm like, I just want to shower her and make her feel safe, protected, looked after, that she can look after. As much as she can look after herself, it's like, isn't it nice when a man can like be chivalrous in a way and look after her?
Definitely. And that's the difference between, unconditional love, just to give for the sake of giving because giving feels good, or
Yeah,
giving as a transaction. Whereas,
yeah,
I'll give you this. In the meantime, you're hoping, to get back. And you probably
yeah,
will, but it does come with a totally different energy. So I love
yeah.
that you pointed that out. That's so good and intuitive.
It does come back. It comes back, but it's not what you expect. And it's like I'm playing delayed gratification as well. I'm like, and if it doesn't come back, I'm like, it's okay, and being really okay with that. And same with men, where I'm like, hey, give so much at the start in the sexual interaction, and you watch how much you will get in return. But I'm not. But it needs to be deeply. I'm not doing it to get something in return, which sometimes guys wrestle with. And the same with business. Is like some of the best stuff I've done in business, I've given so much for free. And when I used to give it, I think I said it before, like, yeah, I'm going to give all this so that I can get something in return. It didn't work. But now giving freely, it has changed things dramatically. Same in the bedroom.
Yeah, I think from the feminine point of view, when you're talking about this, and I'm sort of imagining what you're saying in my head.
Yeah.
It's a woman could not have anything but pure respect for and honor for a man like that. And when we have
Yeah.
respect and deep honor for a man, we will give as well, unconditionally.
Yeah.
It's reciprocal, and I think the best relationships are made like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then, yeah, it's the unconditionalness from the start. And then it's like, well, just blow them open with unconditional love and care. It's like, but it doesn't mean you're in love with them. It's just you're seeing the humanity in the other person. Like, I just want to look after you and care for you. And I think you're just incredible and just like come from that loving heart. So yeah, we're on the same page. So thanks for the female perspective as well.
Well, when the giving, oh, what was I going to say? When the giving is given in the right energy, it's the giver that gets just as much from it
Yeah,
as the receiver. With
correct.
giving, I mean, yourself, when you've given from the heart, it's us that get the gift. It's beautiful.
Mm,
All right, moving on.
completely.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about what I sort of refer to as higher conscious relationships, as in two very sort of, aware, conscious people
Mhm.
that are together for growth and, as much elevation in consciousness as they can create together. What have you got to say around the sexual goals or connections of those sorts of relationships?
Yeah, first and foremost, a lot of my life have been quite unconscious relationships, um, like dysfunctional, codependent, and then also relationships like where I'm like professionally, personally, and romantically. And even in the romantic sense, since we're talking about that today, when people back then were like, oh, when you find the right person, you'll feel elevated and you can feel fulfilled. Like the person doesn't complete you, but you, both of you together, you just explode into like, you just like that support and that care, and you can just like get so much energy that's uplifting. But I've been in a lot of relationships in my life that have been the opposite of not the conscious. And I thought it was, I'm like, I felt drained. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel seen. And I wasn't allowing my partner to feel heard, seen, and appreciated as well. And I was like, I'm trying my best, but it's like we just started clashing so much. I'm like, is this what this is relationships about? So I'm nowhere near qualified to speak about this, but just from my experience, I had recently an absolutely incredible relationship for 8 months, just a short stint, but it was so clear from the start about what we both wanted. And the elevation that I felt was just like very magnetic and connecting and uplifting. And then inside the bedroom as well, like the deeper that got with us on the outside, the deeper it got inside the bedroom, but then also allowing like, hey, this is where we're both at. This is what I want to do for the future. Where are you at? What do you want to explore? What would you like to do more of? What would you like less of? And I heard this and I really started implementing this in my relationship with this woman. I'm like, let us have this place of like the deepest level of safety and connections. Like there's nothing that we're not willing to share with each other. And that just alone was a huge thing that I implemented in this relationship with this woman. It was scary from sharing my deepest truths from my gut. And then she did the same with me. And by that happening, it just allowed such like, I've got someone to rely on. They can rely on me. And there's nothing that's going to push them away. And I could just like, even I felt the sexual connection deeper and deeper and deeper just because of the depth of conversations. And we weren't willing to settle for a dysfunctional connection and like just like allow that to run the show. And I like kind of made a declaration once when I went through a lot of dysfunctional relationships that I created. You know, I'm the half who created that as well. I'm like, never again. I was like, I remember like the one time, like, never again am I going to be in this relationship where I feel pulled down and I feel like it's not working. And I'm not going to be in a relationship where I just feel like it's just like toxic and just taking me down a negative spiral. I'm only going to be in relationships where it's on the positive spiral. Does that mean it's always going to go on the positive spiral upwards? No. But at the same time, it's like I'm going to be with a woman who we both co-create something. And it's not like I'm bringing 50% and she's bringing 50%. I'm bringing 100%. She's bringing 100%. And we're coming together and we're going to work on this as an upward spiral. And if I can't be 100% honest with where I'm at and where she's at, then I don't want in. Because back in the day, Gemma, had long time ago, I'm talking 10 years ago, had 3 monogamous girlfriends. That doesn't even make sense. A married woman and her best friend. So I've come from deep, unconscious, drug dealing, so debaucherous, so teen prince behavior of like going through that spectrum of like what she doesn't know can't hurt her, and like going at nightclubs and promoting at nightclubs and all this like scene. And it was absolutely just insanity to where I've come to now of being in much deeper, healthier, open communication relationships. And it has completely changed everything for me. And it was a tough transition from all of that cheating and lying and insanity to a lot more purity and deep of integrity, because I didn't have integrity for such a long time as much as I thought I did.
Yeah, this is great. And I mean, you're relatively young. What are you, in your 30s? So
22.
You're 22? Oh my God, I've got a son that's 23 and one that's 21.
No, I'm 30. I'm 32.
32. There you go. I did have a look at you said something about, anyway, I'm glad I got that wrong. You've done a lot in life if you're only 22. Okay, so I love what you said about don't come to a relationship with 50%, 50%. And I'm big advocate of that too. I always say, like 100%, 100%. And it's like the vesica Pisces where the two circles overlap. And so you've got one hole, and then you've got the relationship. And that is also the foundation of the flower of life, sacred geometry. And that is how, creation expands. So I know you did mention right at the beginning you went to a Christian school that didn't appeal to you, and we haven't spoken much about spirituality, but have you got anything to say about a threesome with God, like man, woman, and where does God come into sex?
Oh, that's a great question. Wow. Where does God come in? It's like I see, so there's so many different aspects I play in. So there has been times where it just felt like, where and how did that experience happen? And that was the deepest, most profound meditation through sexuality that I've had. So I've played and danced in both. Like sometimes I'm like, how deep can I go and like really like touch God through sexuality? Or sometimes I'm like, let's have a quickie and let's do this. It really depends on the mood. But when for me, sex is the deepest expression of for myself of like a connection with another being. And then when that happens, it's kind of like, yeah, a threesome with God for sure. And that opens up. There was this time when I was having like some full body orgasms, really when I was doing a lot of practice around that with non-ejaculation. And that's the closest that I'm just like felt so lit up. And it felt like there was me and this other person. And then there was this other like presence that was just there. And I just felt so held and just like lit up. And like, I'm like, what is going on? This is just something out of this world from all those deep practices of Tantra that I did and just understanding the deep understanding, but the deep embodiment of this, breathing that deeply, holding in there, the eye contact and feeling the ebb and flow of her body. And then it just feels like everything dissolves. And it just felt like we dissolved into oneness, as much as that sounds like so cliche. But then it's just, I never forget how profound it was. It's like you just feel like you've been touched. And like there's times where I'm just crying for no reason. I'm like, why is this? But I don't need to have an answer. It's just because I'm there, and it was like a conduit to like a higher place of me and her and the energy. And then the way that that happened is because multiple times, I remember this woman named Eliza, because we go, I deeply accept you, and I felt it deeply that she accepted me for the good, the bad, the ugly, and I accepted her for the good, the bad, the ugly. And then we could dissolve all this physical stuff of like, let's just be 100% all of us in these moments and give each other that deepest presence. I'm not thinking, is that okay? Is that good in the bedroom? And that's when the deepest and most profound sexual moments I've had, when I've taken all expectation and judgment off myself, and then having those completely divine experiences that I'm like, this is out of this world. So yeah, threesome with God, I love that terminology.
That's great. I love that. Thanks for sharing your experience around that, because it's
Yeah.
really profound. And that's what I think, where ultimately as the human race evolves, that, we're all hoping to get to. Um,
Yeah.
you touched on semen retention. What have you got to say around that?
Yeah, I don't practice as much semen retention at the moment, but back in the day, I actually did 120 days of semen retention. So when I did that, I was like, when I was like doing a lot of tantra practices in schools, it's like semen retention. It's great for like, it's just the multitude. There's like so many benefits of semen retention. It's like if you want to build that tension back with the partner, because if we're just constantly ejaculating all the time, it's like depleting our life force energy. And then when I was holding that in, it was such a different experience. I just felt like more like I felt more testosterone running through my body.
You there? Okay, we're on. Semen retention.
Semen retention, let's go. So I don't practice semen retention too much at the moment, but
I think
back then,
we got all that bit. You were just saying that
okay.
you let it go for 120 days, and yeah.
Other benefits. Yeah, I did semen retention for 120 days, was the longest I ever did, consciously. And wow, that was like the power from that. I even just doing semen retention just for even 7 days, it's like I feel way more loving, kinder, like more powerful in my body. I feel like all my senses heightened, more focused, and like that horny energy. And when you can learn to cultivate that horny energy and then just use it as a tool for maybe business, maybe going to the gym or something you want to achieve, oh my God. Or when you're with your partner, when I'm with my partner, and not to mention how much harder my cock was when I was actually doing semen retention and doing these breathing exercises, opening up the body, being able to have like full, like feel so much more as well. And when I was with my partner, sometimes like it was like ejaculating all the time. It's like depletion. It's like, oh, okay, job is kind of done. But then when I was holding that in, it's like I want to have sex for longer. And then the biggest thing as well, it's taking away that end goal. As you were kind of alluding to before, like not just feeling like an object as well sometimes in the bedroom. It's like when you're just having sex with a woman and there's no end goal of like, I need to come, what ends up happening is you, as the man, you get to enjoy so much of the moment by moment by moment, and then like enjoying so much more of the sexual experience. And you feel so much more energy because you start circulating it, breathing it up your body, breathing it down your body, doing it properly. Because if you don't do it properly, you start getting blue balls, and that's quite painful. And then when you're doing this, it's like sometimes I'll go for a 7 day stint now, and I just feel how much more electric and how much more of a fire, how much more present I am. So I will do that, and I can definitely feel the difference when I do ejaculate or if I don't. But definitely, there's so much to semen practice. But in short, it is such a powerful practice, and the boost of testosterone as well after about 21 days. There's some scientific studies on this, and there's so much around that. So go do your own research. But just my experience, I've loved it, but some days it's like it's so tempting to just let it go and not actually retain. But then every time I have that, there's a multitude of benefits.
Yeah, so powerful. I love that. And I think, from what I hear, more and more men are sort of exploring this. And, as you said, it's their life force and, using it to manifest and create and,
Yeah, there's
build.
like all this stuff,
Yeah.
sexual magic rituals around that, manifestation. There's a lot of stuff around that as well. Fun sex rituals. So it's all part of it as well.
Definitely.
And also, just on that, when a man holds back his seed and doesn't give into that temptation, the trust that a woman has for that man as well. It's like, I'm gonna hold it in for like 7 days, and then he has sex, and then she's like, I really want it, but you don't do it. It's just like, oh, it just builds so much like more from I just want it, like no, and then like this connection and like this sexual tension that arousal between both parties is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, yeah, sounds good. I forget that this going public is like just having a conversation.
You're like, sounds good.
Keep
All right,
reminding myself.
we gotta wrap this one up.
All right, we're nearly done. I thought important to maybe touch on STDs around this conversation. Where does that all
Yeah.
come into it?
Yeah, that's great. STDs. So from what I've gone through is I've actually had chlamydia about 4 times, and I've actually contracted, what is it? I've contracted herpes, genital herpes, and there's about 40% of the population have actual genital herpes, and about 95% have herpes on the mouth. And the herpes on the mouth is just a mouth cold sore, and most people don't realize that, and they just think, oh, it's a cold sore. But then with herpes, what ends up happening is right now I'm actually considered like, if you did a test, I have nothing. But then when I flare up, I have like spots on my genitals, and then like I can't be intimate then, or I technically could, but it's not advisable to do that. And like I am a huge advocate when I'm with like men, like when I open up about my journey of herpes so many men come and talk to me now like, oh, I've got genital warts, I've got herpes, I've got this STD, because there's so much shame and guilt. And usually, especially for herpes, if you have so much shame and guilt around it, what ends up happening is it comes up more and pops up a lot more because it's so deeply emotional. And then when I've been so much more forthcoming about it, I haven't had an outbreak for such a long time. And when I'm with a woman for the first time, I will actually tell her about my journey, or she might have read my book already, or she's seen my video on YouTube. So I'm not hiding that. And I feel so much more at peace. And then if I don't have an outbreak, then we can have sex and there'll be no consequences. But it's always good to inform the other person about if you do have something going on. And the thing is, more people than not actually have something in regards to STDs and sexual health, but not many people, there's so many people so afraid to do that. But as that masculine warrior, that heart warrior, let's just say, coming forth and going, hey, this is what's going on for me. I never forget the first time that I was going to be intimate with a woman. And knowing I had herpes, I was like, oh, I don't want to lose this person. Because if I do, it's going to be really tough because I really like her and she could say no. And then we might just be friends, we'll probably just be friends. I remember on you, I'm like, oh, no, I, I can't do this. Like, she's like, why not? And we're breaking up.
Yeah, he's breaking up a bit. Okay, all right.
We're back.
We're back.
And we're back.
All right.
Cool. So I think I said like I had a woman, and then what ended up happening is like we were kind of touching each other a little bit, and I was like, she's like, I want to go down on you. I'm like, oh. And I knew I had to bring this up because I'm like, I'm gonna bring this up with her. Of course, that's where it is. And I brought it up with her. I'm like, hey, just want to let you know, this is what's going on for me. I've got herpes. I don't have an outbreak at the moment, but if I do have an outbreak, it could be contagious and it's a bit irritating and stuff like that. And I don't want to pass this on to you. So I just want to let you know that I care about you enough to not be able to possibly pass this on, even though I don't have an outbreak at the moment. And I know that you may not want to continue sexually with or do anything else, and I completely understand that, but I just want to make sure I look after your sexual health. So if someone who's watching back on this is a great way, you can bring that up with a partner beforehand, even as a message. Sometimes I'll just message a woman beforehand and give her, like, it's always giving her that option. It's your duty as a human being to do this, regardless if you're a man or a woman. And then she just goes, "Oh my God, you are so cool." And then I'm like, what? She's like, you are so cool. Thank you so much. That must have been really hard for you to bring up. And of course, I'm so happy to continue. And then I just burst into tears, because it's like I felt deeply accepted. And I know how many people have been in situations where they've opened up about their sexual health and haven't been accepted, which is going to happen, to me. But at the same time, when I've been so forthcoming and upfront, and it's okay if a woman says no because she's looking after herself. But at the same time, if you really explain it, what it is and what's going on, and you can show the safety behind it as well, but then you also give like, here's the risks. So it's not just like, here's all the positives, here's also the drawbacks of things. And then it's like you're opening that up. And yeah, this is what I believe, like between like men who have like performance issues in the bedroom, can't get it up, can't keep it up, or they come too quickly. And then also if they do have a sexually an STD, then it's like there's so many things to talk about beforehand. So it's like you can't just run into the bedroom and like, quick, I'm gonna get it up and have a rock hard banana, which is so silly. And then like if you've got an STD, bringing this up, or if you've got a dormant STD, it's so important to have these conversations. And so many people just don't want to. So that's why it causes like, let's just do this thing. No conversations are being had. And that's why there's so much like spread of STDs or just like misinformation, or people feel so shut down in the bedroom because they feel like they have to, or they gotta, or they should be doing something in the bedroom. And then it causes so much confusion for both genders.
Yeah, I love this. And, obviously it takes a lot of courage, you sharing your story now, what happened, but it puts you in a place of total vulnerability, which, depending on how, the dynamics of the relationship can be very sexy as well. So,
Yeah.
just you there sharing your heart and knowing, putting yourself in a position of rejection, that is like takes so much courage, but obviously the
Mm.
payoff for her
Yeah.
to see you in like that, it was worked well in that situation.
And the irony is as well, if you actually hide it because you don't have an outbreak at that moment, or like you have some other STD and then you kind of maintaining it at bay and you're not sharing what's actually going on, what happens when you do have an outbreak and you have to share that? So it's going to actually destroy so much trust with her anyway. And even if you don't have an STD, psychologically, it's going to, like, every little thing that you don't bring up with your partner is causing that little micro disconnect between them, or little micro barrier. So you haven't told her about like the STD, you haven't told her about maybe something else, and like these micro connections. So when you're actually being physically intimate, like the deep emotional connection is going to be feel like this little thing between you, but you might not know what it is. You'll know what it is, but she might not know. And then deeply unconsciously on a spiritual level, that's there until you actually like say the only thing that's between you is like you haven't told her about the STD. Then you finally tell her, and you feel that depth of closeness completely change. So that's why I'm a huge advocate of expressing what's going on, so you can have the most deep and intimate emotional connections in the bedroom. And then when you go through that, it is night and day, because I've had sexual experiences where I haven't told women that much about myself and I've really opened up. And then I've had experiences where I've opened up so deeply, there's no comparison.
Super, super. Okay, so that's all my questions. I mean, I could have done more, but I know because we did an hour and 15 yesterday and we've done an hour today. But I'd like to give you the opportunity for a couple of things. One, is there anything you feel is really important to speak about from your wisdom and experience and insights that we haven't touched on?
Good question. For the men out there who feel like they're broken, for the men out there who feel like just straight up, who feel a little bit fucked up and like there's no one to turn to, and then that they're stuck in a position of their sexuality and they're having really bad intimate experiences. Maybe they can't get it up, they can't keep it up, they can't last that long, or they're just like having women who are walking all over them because they don't have that backbone and they don't feel they have someone to connect to or talk to. Like, regardless if they reach out to myself, there is so many beautiful facilitators and people to have chats with about this stuff. You don't need to suffer in silence. You don't need to do this alone. And as men, sometimes it's like, I'm just the warrior without the heart, and I'm just going to figure this all out by myself. Where it's like, hang on a second. Even if you've got a close friend to confide in, if you feel like you've got some good friends, see how they are in the times of absolute desperation and pain. And can you confide in them with your biggest pain and tell them what's actually going on? They're not going to be your therapist, but at least you know you got someone who can be that shoulder to cry on and have that your back. And you're not alone. I used to feel like for a long time that I was quite alone and I could do it all myself as a man. But the best thing I heard, one of the best things, like it's not it's like I heard this, we've heard this quote, like, is life about the journey or the destination? And like, okay, it's about the destination, but it goes, it's the journey. No, sorry, it's about the journey. It's life about the journey or the destination. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But it's the journey and the company you keep along the way. And when I heard that, I was like, that is so deeply profound. And then lastly, for the men with the sexual stuff, it's just like having the people who you can really connect with deeply. You can open up about this. And if you're in a relationship that isn't uplifting and you feel deep fulfillment from this, you can do so much better. And same with the women. If you're in an unfulfilling relationship and not sexually satisfied, and you've like taking that time to really open up and talk about this and do the work around it, but the other person's just not, maybe this person isn't for you because you feel seen, loved, and deeply appreciated for yourself. the reason I'm saying this because I know the opposite for too many years, and I'll never settle for that ever again.
Yeah, that's so good. And I'll take that as your final message to men, which I usually ask at the end of the show, but you just summarized it beautifully. And I just wanted to add and acknowledge that I'm aware there are so many single men out there, usually men that have separated or divorced from their, sort of main relationship, children, and they're really having a hard time, as much as they want a new relationship and to connect, they're having a really hard time, connecting, finding the right woman for them. Have you got any
Yeah.
tips for those men?
Oh, for sure. That it's a hard one, like as soon as they've gone through that, and it's meeting women. That's a huge topic. It's like, it's basically like, yes, well, I don't even know where to begin with that
Shall
question.
we come
Basically,
back and do a man speak on that topic? Man
that
speak is if you don't know, it's like once you've been a heart warrior, and you get one heart warrior, but you can have multiple man speak episodes where you can talk for 90 minutes on one theme. Shall we leave it for a man speak, that one?
yeah, we can talk more about some dating stuff as well. For sure on that, because I know how much painful it is that like a lot of men live in quiet desperation, and they're going, will I meet a really great woman again? And how do I get back on the dating scene? For sure.
Will I
We can
ever
bring
have
that up.
sex again?
Yeah. Will I ever do it? Like, I had, yeah, all that.
Yeah. Oh,
But
awesome.
basically, I just wanted to
Well,
just on that. It's like, yes, you can do things, and dating it's like it's definitely, it's not going to be easy, but putting yourself out there. And it's like, it's also just, so let's do it another time. It's such a huge, huge
yeah, we
question.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it, love it. Okay, where can people find you, Andrew? Let us know about your book. I know you're releasing like a course, or something, that a program that you're releasing this week. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I always recommend that people, if they want to, if you've enjoyed today's episode and you want to know more, you can go check out more of my free stuff. Like, I think I have about 200 YouTube videos or something like that, that people can go look at that stuff. And then if they resonate with that, then they can just start off small. I've actually got a book they can check out, but really just check out the YouTube and then really have a look at that. And we have a very low ticket offer, which is a course we're just releasing actually 2 days ago, called Foreplay Mastery, Pleasure Without Penetration. And it's for men who are a little bit nervous in the bedroom, or they just want to master their foreplay game and be really great in the bedroom like that. And it's like, it doesn't matter how big you are, if you can get it up, if you can keep it up, or how long you can last. It's all stuff with my female partner, and we go back and forward, and we do practical exercises. We keep our clothes on, so it's not one of those educational videos. We keep our clothes on, and we just talk about things. We break things down. We do practical exercises back and forward. I have a lot of demonstrations, so then men can feel super comfortable about foreplay, how to give foreplay, how to receive, and how to like allow her to have like really a great experience in setting up nights of foreplay. So there's so many different things, and it's a great entry thing. I post going, now it's time to get in the bedroom and have sex. So it's just like, it's like guiding through. But I'd say start off at the YouTube, and then just like, if you really resonate, then you can go check out that, or you can check out the book, which is just super, super affordable for most people.
Wow, 200 videos on YouTube about that. And are they all directed at men?
Yeah, they're all directed at men about how to be better in the bedroom. Correct.
Amazing, amazing. That's a incredible resource. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, any final words, Andrew, and we'll wrap up until next time.
Gemma, last thing I just want to say for you is like, thank you for hosting this, and just the woman who you are, about putting on this show for 100 men, and really getting this message out to the world. So just deeply appreciate like the mission that you have as well, to do this and just like really support so many other men. And just, it's so beautiful, because the men need that support. And just like, I'm sure with the array of guests that you've had on here, it like, my message may touch someone's soul, or it may not, but then there'll be someone on the 100 people that you'll be bringing on will definitely do that. And yeah, just really support your mission, and thank you for the opportunity to speak heart to heart, and really hopefully it does touch some people and guides them in the right direction.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for that, Andrew. And I'm sure you will touch many, many hearts. So I want to thank you. You've been an incredible guest, an incredible heart warrior, and really bringing out some beautiful resources to men. And, you know, like you said, we're all in this together. We all want to lift humanity. And I always say, you know, we're not falling in love anymore. We're rising in love, and when we lift each other up, we all rise in love. So thank you so much. I'll get this out on YouTube and I will send you all the links. If you could just stay on and we'll get a title for the show. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Sorry about the hiccups, you know, we had a few, but I will edit it all together and have it all in one show, and we will look forward to seeing Andrew in the near future. So please like, share, subscribe, and make sure you check out Andrew's YouTube channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.